Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bussin with the Boys, the greatest podcast of all time, sponsored and presented by the greatest vehicle to ever touch rubber on the road, the Chevy Silverado. Silverado is strong and dependable as the people who drive them. Chevy Silverado, modern and advanced with a ton of grit, a partner in getting things done, especially when it comes to the heart and soul of the pickup truck, the bed. With Silverado, you get the most functional bed of any competitor. Best in class standard cargo volume. The inner gate folds to a large step for easily getting in and out of the bed. Available industry first power up and down tailgate, or the available multi-flex tailgate we've been telling you about with 6 convenient configurations. All this makes the Silverado work harder and smarter. Silverado, strong, advanced, dependable, and hardworking. If you guys are wondering why I'm dressed like this today, it's Memorial Day. So shout out to all the people out there who gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country, not to be put lightly by shouting them out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be proud of where you're from. Freedom's not free. Enjoy the things you're gifted in this country, given by the people who are making the ultimate sacrifice. That is a huge deal. This week, this episode, banger.
I'm telling you, bro. That's why I had a clap going on the entire time, because I was thinking about, we had fucking Redick on the bus.
Who's literally everywhere right now.
Yes, bro.
Everywhere, dude. Everywhere you look.
You see people saying, like, we need to protect him at all costs on ESPN. Like, all of his, he's on First Take a lot, right? First Take. I'm not sure what other segments
he's fighting Stephen A. Smith and that hairline.
Battling, bro. Yeah. And he said, and that hairline. And Mad Dog. Like, JJ's out there fighting the good fight.
He really is.
For the boys, very, very
very intellectual.
Yeah, very intellectual. Sure. That's the word.
Guy is a fucking...
very insightful.
His vocabulary kind of pissed me off a little bit because it made me feel less than. It's my own issue, though.
That is.
It's my own issue.
Yeah.
It's my own bag to unpack.
Pat McAfee did tweet the other day, like, if you're going to be dumb, like, you got to be a tough guy.
Yeah.
So I think when JJ's talking, you get a little mad, you want to get a little angry.
Got to be tough. All right.
Yeah.
So look at me. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing then. Right, you know what I'm saying?
You're in the beautiful thing. The way you need to be.
And a cool thing that JJ said to us was that, like, he's like not doing a lot of stuff with people right now. Like, he committed to doing Bussin with the Boys, which is really cool of him. But then after the party, he's like, yeah, there's a lot of people just asking me to do stuff every single day, and it's so overwhelming. So I'm not going to be doing that
recently
stuff.
Because he's been crushing it.
We're
trying to get like
humble too.
Oh, bro, he was fucking awesome, bro.
Unreal. He legit took over the podcast low key because, spoiler alert, we're not huge basketball guys. We don't really know what's what. We don't have like the knowledge.
He's got so when the boys were in the top 5 of the charts now, Apple, Spotify, we're living in those charts, guys.
Living top 10. Shout out everyone listening, dude.
Continue to download our episodes on audio. Like, even if you watch on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube right now, just as we're talking, pull out your phone, bring up Apple or Spotify, download this episode. That shit helps us, bro. But a podcast that lives in that top 5 with us is The Old Man and the Three, which is JJ Redick's podcast. He's got a banger podcast.
Banger.
But yeah, man, he's a stud. Any white kid growing up, dude, you wanted to shoot like JJ Redick.
Let's see. Hey, I thought he was black.
Taylor,
but the day before he came on.
Zero anything about basketball, bro.
He never had to shoot a ball. I'm fucking wet.
Until like I tweeted and had a gif of who JJ Redick was. He's like, oh, I thought he was black until you had that gif.
Yeah.
But if you watch basketball of any kind, like, you wanted to be JJ Redick back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, got a stud podcast, The Old Man and the Three. He's on ESPN. He's everywhere. Dude is dishing out knowledge left and right about the game of basketball because, like Taylor said, he's arguing with Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog all the time. And also, what's his name? Pat Beverly.
Yeah,
some good conversation.
Great defensive player.
They make that show.
I've been doing homework since the pod. Don't get twisted now, boys. I'm learning about basketball.
Like, and I'm not saying the show isn't entertaining, but I feel like I've tuned in a few more times now, just because like JJ Redick, Pat Bev, and those young cats are like in there like arguing with the old heads and like dropping knowledge. You know what I mean? Arguing for the boys. But yeah, dude, we had an awesome tier talk about pizza.
Pizza was the tier talk. And that's where we kind of lost it with each other. I think that's where he kind of put himself on a pedestal because he lives in the Northeast.
I think that's what it is too. Yeah. Like, that's the word. Like
you guys don't know pizza. And then my tier one, you guys both shit on, which is fine. I understand that's not going to be the number one pick of anybody, like for a lot of people, but for me, it was number one. But I think he said the best thing we said was cheese. And that low key is disrespectful.
Dude, it was super. He's saying some crazy shit, dude. Like we're trying to have like
He's
a
just
good,
using big words, dude. He just said leafs, but he used like sage and sage is a
it's
small word.
four-letter word.
But you know what I'm saying?
4-letter word.
But you know what I'm saying? Saying big ass words. Piece of shit. Getting tough. I'm getting tough again.
Man.
I'm getting tough again.
But yeah, it was just we're just trying to have a good time. Like, hey, let's like pick out candies and pizzas and shit like that. And he's like coming at us with some crazy Northeastern talk.
Yeah.
But those dudes, those
Different kinds of
up there
cheeses.
do think they're a lot better than like the Midwest, the Southern guys, stuff like that. You know how
Which
they
is
are.
like kind of a staple for them. You were in New York. Was the pizza that much better? You can be honest.
The
Listen.
pizza is really good out there.
Okay.
The pizza is really good.
It was
out
that
there.
much better. You're gonna say? I need you to say it was that much better.
Oh, it's not that much better. No.
Mm.
No. Like there's competitive pizza all over the country, I feel like.
Is there anywhere in Nashville that you would say we compete with New York? That's a good question, right?
Yeah, are we giving some free shout outs?
You can just, I mean, is there an actual yes? Because in my head, there might not be.
Know fucking Joey shut down?
Yeah.
I would say that one. Joey's House of Pizza.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Dave brought on that one time that he tried. He gave it like a high 8 rating.
No way.
Yes, bro. Dave, when he came, the 3 spots he went to in Nashville, it was Joey's, 5 points, and one other one. But they all got in the 8s, bro.
Really?
There's some respect. And I will say 5 points is good.
Your mouth's watering.
Right. Rockin' Dough is low key solid.
Smith and Lintz in East Nashville is a brewery, and everyone who's eaten it claims it's been the best. I had it.
I haven't had that.
It is-
I would love to try it.
You got to try it out, Smith and Lintz.
And Midnight Oil, bro. Midnight Oil off 51st.
You
that
have brought them up.
sweet-
You brought them
that
up a few
sweet
times.
heat.
You brought it up on this pod, actually.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Joey's brother still has a pizza spot though. It's called Manny's. It's very similar to Joey's. They were brothers. They competed in like the pizza world, but Manny's is still open. It's
Manny's
over at
won?
the arcade.
I'm glad you said that because when I saw Joe's was shutting down, I was a little bummed that like I only had it that one time.
That's a
It
huge
was only
bummer.
open in afternoons from like 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Not open on weekends and only open on those afternoons and the weekdays.
Is this the place?
Family operational.
Is this the place that Portnoy was like, "I'm coming here,"
The
and then they were like,
DMs.
"Please don't come."
Yeah, they were like they didn't want the attention because there's always like a long line. It's just family. It's family
I
operational.
wonder why they shut down then. COVID probably.
Couldn't have been, bro. They would.
I read their ad and it said they're transitioning into like doing more food than just pizza. So they're opening back up.
Okay, they're not shutting
okay.
down. They're getting bigger. Because everything you guys are saying sounds like this would be the hottest place
But
in
it's not
Nashville.
going to be pizza centric anymore. I think it's just going to be traditional Italian food again. That's just what their Instagram post said, like their last post.
Okay.
Pizza's fire, but Italian food for me is not it.
Really?
I know. Is that crazy?
That is crazy, man.
Is that wild?
I know Italian food's heavy, so it's not always like a choice I try and go to. But
Yeah.
like Italian food's, how's your mother?
It's like that.
Yes.
Really? Yeah, no, it's not for me.
But anything else I missed before we jump into the episode?
He gives a finals prediction. NBA finals prediction.
Oh, he gave an NBA's final prediction. What was it?
You got to listen.
You got to tune in, Taylor. Come on
Oh, I
now.
thought he did it on a different
No, he
episode.
did
What
it.
am I thinking
You
of
did it
right
on
now?
ours. You're good, bro. You got to listen to the
Um,
episode, though.
We do have one thing, though, because the whole Rich Eisen, remember the video?
Yeah.
We can shit on it lightly. Right behind your seat, there is a device that is a fog machine, and it possesses not a big one, but a small motor. It's right behind your seat, Will.
Oh, it's right there. Yep, I see it.
And try and keep it level if you grab it, because I feel like it's like leaking. But Rich Eisen said that he changed his.
Listen
Yeah.
to Jack because that video
You want me to pick
was
it up?
special.
You can, yeah, just to prove that it's on here. Because Rich Eisen has now said that he will come on the podcast
Ooh.
if we just had any motor at all. That little device possesses a very small, but still a motor.
Is that work? Does it work?
Yeah, you got to plug it in and stuff. So we don't have. It didn't have to be working. He said it could be anything motor.
That's the case. Isn't there a motor in this bus? There is a
We'll
motor.
take a photo for him, too.
All right,
'cause
we
I
can do
heard
that.
That shit.
But we just.
Well,
need
we
to-
also got this.
Yeah, we need to clip it so we can send it to Rich. He should hopefully be coming on the show soon.
Well,
but
Rich,
those tweets are gonna still be sending off until the day he gets on here.
it seems like Rich in the beginning really fucking dug his feet in the ground on what would make him come on this bus. And as we've gained a little more traction, it kind of
Yes.
seems like Rich has gone from doing us a favor to wanting to actually be on the bus and is willing to bend his own rules of how he's going to come on this bus. I've said it once, I said it 1,000 times. I'm a huge Rich Eisen fan.
Yeah.
I think the interaction between Bussin and him has been incredible.
Yeah, it was painful at first when he wasn't referring to me in the podcast.
Yeah.
It was just like, I just want Rich to see me type of thing.
Yeah.
But I agree with you because when he talks about you first coming on and talking about Bussin' with the Boys,
Yeah.
I'm sure he thought, oh, like the haters, people are like, oh, the boys are doing a cute little podcast on a bus out in Nashville.
He didn't know we were for real.
Probably not gonna make anything of itself.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Now look at us. Now you can play with us, play back and forth with us a little more on your own show because there's enough credibility behind it.
Enough credibility.
Yeah, and now he probably wants to get on that.
And he's an OG too. He's an OG, but when you've been in the game for this long, you keep with the times. We're hip, we're with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
he's been an OG tier 3.
You know, I think at this point we'll allow Rich to come on the pod. And I'm happy we could do this for him.
Are you sure we need to tread that way? Maybe that keeps him from coming on because I want Rich to come on. I don't want him to go back.
When I'm playing,
because you just did some animal right there.
I know, and you're right. And if you just give me, in my head, Rich is watching this video right now, and he's like this on his tape on his desk, and he's watching on his screen during his TV. He's going, these guys. You know, and I just want him to smile with it. And you're right. I could have been that might have been the thing that set him over the edge, but I want him to enjoy this. I'm just enjoying the banter.
Yeah.
You know, OG Michigan guy, dude. Hero, stud, legend.
Is he going to have a statue of Michigan one day, you think?
He should. It should be him in a full sprint is what it should be.
Yeah, in a suit.
How sick would that be?
Sprint. I agree.
God, that'd be cool.
But shall we get into it?
You know, it'd be cool real quick if we did a spring football trophy game between Michigan, and the trophy was Rich, and they would do the Mace team and the Blue team and the Mace team, and it was just a small trophy of Rich running, and whoever won that team, their captain got to keep the Rich trophy.
That captain,
the captain of whichever team. I'm sure they split it up, right?
Yeah, probably.
Cool, right? Everyone lined up against the wall. 2 captains. I got that guy. They fucking get the game going. Cool shit.
That's a funny idea.
Thanks, man. All right, let's get to this episode.
JJ Redick, subscribe, rate the boys, do all the fun stuff. Enjoy the episode.
How'd you feel about that game of pig that just happened there?
I didn't feel great about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If we're sweaty right now, we just played an intense game of pig.
Intense game of pig.
And JJ Redick was the first man out.
Yeah.
I think what upsets me is, number one, the L, for sure.
Yeah.
But I texted Will yesterday, and I said, Will, what do I need to know? Like, what am I walking into tomorrow? And he laid out a show plan, some Duke stuff, some NBA stuff. There was no mention of mini basketball pig.
Yeah.
And had I known that, I would have came more prepared.
Right.
I would have. My whole day would have been different. I'll put it that way.
So you're blaming me
a little bit.
Well, and let me have Will's side for a second.
In mid game.
Yeah.
Like, you guys probably got at least, I don't know, 10 to 15 warm up shots.
Well, why
but usually when people play pig and someone comes in middle of the game, they usually have to take a letter. And you didn't have to take a letter.
Why did you come in mid game?
Well, that's because my driver took me to 12. I'm not going to say the address.
Yeah, you don't want to say the address.
But he took me to a different address that started with a C, not a K.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the way over here, we got stuck behind a train. So just shit happens, man.
Yeah.
A lot of adversity when you're coming to and during the podcast on the bus.
Yes.
But just to argue with you a little bit more, when you and I were sitting in the corner over there and we were like kind of first meeting each other, you did whisper to me, I play this game with my kids, exact hoop, exact ball every single day. Did you not say that? Is that a comment you made?
I said exact hoop.
Different ball. You actually said the ball's bigger and harder to make it in. Yes.
Like, there's like a men's basketball, women's basketball, youth basketball, and then there's like the mini basketballs.
Right.
They're like 3 times the size of the ball you guys used. That's what I'm used to.
Are you always aware when you walk into like a situation like that, like they all expect me to win this game? And when you do lose in that kind of fashion, because it was pretty quick, is it something where you're just like, damn, these boys like really think they got me for real?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you guys really think you got me in basketball, I actually feel bad for you. Like,
why is that?
Whoa, hang on!
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Your win counted.
Nobody laugh.
No, but I'm just saying, if we all of a sudden like did a Nerf football competition,
we'd probably win that too.
Like throwing it at a target, like I would probably beat you guys. I wouldn't say to myself like I got you in football. I would just say like I won this specific random event.
Okay,
but it's pretty straightforward.
It'd be better. It'd be better and easier for us to say based on because there was no like real basketball there. We're just better shooters than you are.
Again, like at this particular address,
yeah.
Outside of this particular bus, on that particular hoop, you guys got me today. And again,
Right.
the competitive side of me is pissed off. And I wish we could move on past this because now I'm getting angry.
It's gonna be a few minutes. It's gonna be a few minutes before we leave this.
Hey, trust me, we do not want to see first take JJ Redick.
Really?
Yeah, have you not seen the waves
I've
he's been
seen a
making
couple
recently?
first takes. I've seen you like lose your temper, but I don't think it's anything we can't handle.
I don't know if I've lost my temper. Well, I've been animated. There's a
You can
difference.
tell because your vein will start coming out of
Yeah.
your neck a little bit. You'll start leaning a little bit more in your seat. And
The seat lean is a big giveaway.
The producer said that to me the other day.
yeah,
Really?
Because I know when you're about to get really engaged because I lean forward
Yeah.
and I don't even realize I'm doing it. The
Yeah.
thing I've got to be better at, I've
I was watching
realized.
this exact video. This is about Luca and Curry.
No, this one was about Stephen A. calling Jimmy Butler a perimeter shooter.
Yeah, and he's not a perimeter shooter at all.
Jimmy Butler's a fantastic player. He's a superstar. But,
who all are fantastic players?
well, Pat Beverly.
And I'm just
Pat
fucking with you.
Beverly pressed me on that the other day.
That's what you
He's
got.
like, fantastic player. What does that mean? And I'm
You
like,
got
I don't
pretty-
know.
you got pretty-
There's
you got
like
going there.
40 or 50 fantastic players. The hierarchy of the NBA is really hard to figure out
Mhm.
at any given time. But generally speaking, there's like 5 guys that are it. They are him.
Mhm.
And you can win a championship with that player. And beyond that, there's probably 5 more guys that on certain nights look like a top 5 player. Outside of like the top 10 or 15, then it becomes very circumstantial for the next 20 to 40 guys. And like Draymond, he's a great example of that because where do you sort of place him in the hierarchy of the NBA? If we're talking about someone who can go off the dribble and score on his own, like that's not Draymond, but we're talking about impact on winning. Well, shit, he's top 15, top 20. So it's hard to rank players. I hate doing it. I hate, they make me do it. They make me do it.
Have you seen Draymond Green try to play football?
I haven't.
Oh, there's a video of him. If you can pull that up,
Is he a beast?
pull it up. Draymond Green, spring football, Michigan State.
What's like a good, like for an average quarterback in the NFL? Actually, let's go, not NFL. Average FBS college quarterback. How far can they throw a football on the fly? 50 yards, 80 yards, like what's good?
Oh, so that's
You'd think like
you think
50 to
60?
60,
Yeah,
right?
50 to 60 would probably be.
So I could be an
adequate.
average D1 quarterback. Is what you're
Well,
saying.
that's assuming that what you just said means you can throw the ball 50 or 60 yards
Well,
on the
yes.
run accurately.
accurate on the run. I mean, I can just do it standstill.
You can throw a 50 or 60 yards standstill.
Yeah.
How
Are you
long
an
are you
accurate
leaving
quarterback?
after this? You have to go somewhere to go? Because we can go right to the field if you want.
I mean, I'm gonna need. You didn't give me warm up here. We can go out to the field. We'll go out to the
I'll
field.
tell you
a
what,
little bit.
after we finish, I have nothing to do the rest of the day.
I'll get
We'll
this
play
list.
pig again, just you and me.
I'll get this list.
And you can warm up as long as you want.
My ongoing joke is basically that if I had not quit baseball, I would have been a big league pitcher.
You think so?
I had a heater, man.
Were you a beast?
I had a heater.
How tall are you?
6'4".
Yeah.
What
You
were
got
you
the height for
throwing?
it?
Well, I quit in 7th grade. That's the thing. My dad made me
Seventh
choose.
grade.
But here's the thing. I was a beast.
That is like the point where you have
No,
to
but
choose.
I was a beast then, and I hadn't hit my growth spurt yet. I was 5'6", and then all the kids that I played against that were on the same level as me, they all either played, AA, AAA baseball, D1, ACC baseball. I feel like I could have had a chance.
Mhm.
I mean, are you hitting like low 70s as a 7th grader?
Yeah. Oh, easy.
I mean, that's
And that's
I
just,
feel like
that's
that's
just
like
gangster.
Yeah.
Low 70s?
yeah, I feel like that's pretty tough.
Mid 60s, you're like, holy shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's even 62.
Yeah. If you
That
go
mound that
if you
close?
go back to the dugout and you're in like middle school and you're like, hey, this kid can throw 72 miles an hour. You're like, fuck.
I don't think I ever even heard of that. We would like to interrupt this incredible episode with JJ Redick to let you know a couple things. One, we're going to give you an ad read, but also make sure you guys are subscribing and rating 5 stars to our YouTube and especially our audio. Will said it in the intro. We have been absolutely living in that top 5 on Spotify and Apple
Yeah.
and both those
We
boys,
flirted
right?
with Apple's top 5. We've been
Yeah.
in the.
We've been living in
top 5.
Spotify's top 5. And literally, guys, it's been an amazing thing. We've been going to two podcasts. You guys have been absolutely incredible. This ad read is one of the best. One of the best because it's Duke Cannon. And when you go to their Instagram and you see their stuff, you think this is a bunch of memes. There's a bunch of dudes being hilarious, making content for everybody else. What you don't know is they make the best products for men, dude. They have that big ass brick of soap. With the scrubber, Will and I talked about it the other day. That little pouch that the soap comes in, you fucking put it in there, get it wet, start rubbing it. It's just like a loofah, baby. Because a lot of times we have issues with big blocks of soap. Willie, what you got for us, baby?
I would just like to do a mini shout out, no free shout out of the week for teaching me about the case that is like a loofah, because I was trying to talk about here's how you can do it with the Duke Cannon, but little did I know that the case is a loofah.
Yeah.
I've been using it nonstop, and every time I do, I'm like, man, I'm really glad that they put me on game.
And if it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else. Duke Cannon is incredible, dude. It's not for clowns. I'm going to repeat that one more time. It's not for clowns. And you can check out Duke Cannon at any Target or on DukeCannon.com and use code Bussin for 15% off your first order. That's a big deal. Duke Cannon, not for clowns.
Taylor,
Honest with you.
your listeners know this. This is more us getting to know each other. Where are you from again?
I'm from Arizona.
From Arizona.
I grew up in Arizona, born in California, grew up in Arizona, went to Michigan, and I've been here
Yeah,
since
I knew that.
2014.
Yeah. Okay. And then Bon Terre, Missouri. That's
right.
that's a real place.
Oh, I've been there.
That's a real place.
I've driven past there with Willie.
4,000 people. It's a real place.
Yeah.
Tobacco, lead,
Okay.
cigarettes.
Mhm.
For a
all
long
there.
time in my
Get it
life,
all
I'm not a
there.
conspiracy theorist, but for a long time in my life, I was like, man, I'm not sure Missouri and Nebraska actually exist. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know if they were real places or if it was just like, we're going to put them on a map. Because I didn't know anybody. You know, I'd never, I'm like, Nebraska.
Because they don't leave. Nebraska people don't leave.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm pretty sure Missouri people don't leave either.
You talking about here I am right now?
No, but you like a made it out kid.
Yeah, I mean,
You tell me all the time people from your town like don't really leave that town.
that's fair. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
accurate.
And like Nebraska, it's a similar conversation we've had.
I feel like most people, if you're in a small town, though, not a lot of people really leave.
I think that's a great point.
You know what I mean?
I agree with
No,
that.
I agree with that.
Like cities, I can see.
What
'cause you're
makes
like
you?
prep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What
Like,
makes
us,
you
we were
want to
like
leave?
we were an hour away from St. Louis when I was growing up, so there really wasn't no city. There was like nothing around us. So
Mhm.
you just get used to the community aspect, I guess, of a small town. Like when you're growing up and when you're younger, like in my area, and say you're like good at sports, you like picture yourself being like a head coach of that high school team when you grow up,
Mm,
or like a
Yeah.
gym teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
What was
yo,
it-
I'm
what
going
was
to
it-
coach PE and I'm going to teach PE and I'm going to coach football.
What was a big city for you? St. Louis? St. Louis
St.
was
Louis,
like
yeah.
huge.
When I went to
Out of
Lincoln,
place.
Nebraska, I felt like it was big for
Yeah.
me. And everybody else from like Texas and Cali, and they like just shit on it. Like
'Cause
Lincoln
when I went
wasn't
to
nothing. I
Orlando
was
my
like, bro, this
rookie
is
year,
massive.
I thought Orlando was a city. It's clearly not a city. It's not a real city.
Orlando's a weird
It's
place.
just a place.
Every time I go to Orlando, I'm like, I
Buildings.
feel like everything's fake here because it's like the Disney World, and it's like, oh, there's a castle right there, or like
Yeah.
this extravagant billboard, and like it's so insane, but really it's just like fake. Nothing's real there. It seems like to me. I've only been there like 3 times, and
I
all
lived
3 of
there
those
for
times.
7 years. I
And?
don't know that I wouldn't call it like all of it fake,
Mhm.
but it's a transient place. So a lot of people in and out, a lot of tourists.
Google Translate for me.
Well, he's. I mean, he can probably define it for you.
That'll be the easiest word to translate that I'll use today.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What is
Yep.
short lived?
Okay. All right. Keep
Always changes, moves around.
going.
You know, people in and out.
Yeah.
Nobody's from who's from Orlando? Who's like, oh yeah, I grew up in Orlando and I stayed in Orlando.
It's the same thing here in Nashville.
Mm.
Like the first 6 months I lived in Nashville in 2014, I didn't meet one person from Nashville that grew up in this area at all. Everyone's transplants.
Yeah.
Come from New York, come from Florida, come from all over the place. What? What?
You're touching the local boys back there.
Well, I mean, is that not true? Is there so many people from out of town? Yeah. I'm not trying to come at the boys. I'm just trying to say, like, it's a transient place.
Transient
Read a book.
place, man.
You know? Read a book, boys. I mean, it's just a transient place.
Yo, are you stoked to be on Bussin' with the boys?
I am stoked. I mean, shit, man. Like, I got to be honest with y'all. The last 8 or 9 months has been kind of crazy for me because I always envisioned this year of bliss and quiet when I retired. And I was very hesitant to do ESPN and agreed to do like a short 1-year deal. And I was still obligated to do the podcast for another year. So I was like, yeah, I'll do ESPN. But getting into the media space has been way busier than I expected. And so I get asked to do podcasts probably 3 or 4 times a week. That's not exaggeration, like literally 3 or 4 times a week. So for me, when I got like the ask from your crew that was like, hey, could he come down to Nashville to do this? I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. No hesitation.
Mhm.
I'm super excited to be here.
Dude, that fires me
What
up.
about Bussin' with the boys? Is if there's 3 or 4 a week coming to you saying, hey, come on our podcast. What about Bussin' was like, so was it the
Well,
bus? Was it Will?
It was mostly Will.
Yeah,
It mostly
it usually
Will.
is.
Great follow
He's
on
a
Twitter.
great follow on Twitter.
He's a great
phenomenal
follow.
teeth. Yes, he's hilarious.
He had one of
Still
the.
need to body bag somebody for JJ. Somebody was coming at him.
Really?
This guy named Chip. And then
Fuck
JJ
Chip,
JJ gave like a good response to him. And it was one of those things where you kind of like read through the bullshit like, hey, JJ, do you need me to ask him for a favor?
Yeah.
I was so scared to clap back at people on Twitter when I was a player, and then I was off of social media for like 2 years. It was an awesome time.
Yeah.
But then when we started doing the podcast again, I was like, I kind of got to be on. But in retirement, I have zero problem clapping back. And I used to think about Kevin Durant. I'd be like, why is Kevin Durant like clapping back at people? He's a top 5 player. The guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, why does he find the time? But the reality is when you have the app on your phone and you check on it, it's human nature. You're going to look at the mentions and like, why not? It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
And it's a
You
super.
put that guy in a body bag the other day with you put him
in the
give him a
crib,
nap.
swaddle him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
swaddle him.
that shit was
the
so
the fuck
funny.
up is so like
How's your swaddle game right now?
my swaddle game. Well, now we're kind of, we're kind of cheating now because we got the Ollie swaddle because it's like Velcro.
That exists.
Yes, that
Okay.
exists, and it is it's a very good swaddle. But before we got the Ollie, my swaddle was actually getting pretty good. I was like in mid-season form before we got the Ollie.
That's good. Yeah, my wife only let me do the swaddle. She couldn't do it.
Really?
So for both our kids, I went tight. I went super tight. 'Cause
You got to.
You don't want those arms to move.
Well, that hand starts poking out. When you first start, then that hand starts creeping.
Yeah.
They start scratching their
They have
face,
no
their nails.
control.
There's nothing. It's a wild thing. The swaddle was something I took very seriously as a
And low-key,
young
you
father.
get competitive.
Yes.
Like when they're kind of tugging, you're like, all right, I'll fucking show you.
Well,
Like,
you want to play games like that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta put them in there.
And
And they don't really fight back too much. Makes you feel kind of bad after. But while you're in it, you definitely like think, oh, this baby's trying me. You know what I'm saying? 100%. I absolutely get it.
But yeah, I was telling Taylor, like, I was stoked that you were coming on because every white kid in America, when you're playing college basketball, they want to be able to shoot a ball like JJ Redick. And I was more fired up now that you're coming on the bus because I was telling Taylor that you're legitimately one of the first OGs, like in the active athlete world, that was doing a podcast. Like you did yours for like 5 years now. You did it with like Yahoo and Ringer before you had to do your own thing. But just the fact that you're podcasting in those 5 years, like when we started Bussin' with the Boys, like low key, to give your flowers a little bit, like you helped give me like confidence and like courage to like do Bussin' with the Boys, kind of like a Pat McAfee and some of those guys who have kind of like pioneered the space. And so that's like, that's actually like that's a huge reason like why I was fired up, because I would look at Old Man in the Three, and you're obviously in the basketball space. So I never really like, there's some out there you look and you're like, oh, they're kind of like competition and stuff. But you were, since you're in the basketball side of it, I was like, oh, let me see like what JJ's doing, like how he does his stuff. You retired on your own platform. Like you own your voice, you control your narrative, you give a platform for athletes. And so that's like why I'm so fired up that you're on the bus.
I appreciate that. I never thought about that when I first started. Woj was launching a platform called The Vertical at Yahoo, and he asked me to write articles for him. And I got this like weird flashback to college, being like stressed out and then having to stay up all night till 6 a.m. to write a term paper. I was like, fuck that, Woj, I don't want to do that. And then he came back 6 months later and was like, me and Chris Mannix are doing a pod. Do you want your own pod? And I legitimately had never listened to a podcast before. My wife had listened to Serial, the season 1 about the love triangle and the murder and stuff.
Oh, I never.
And I was like, I listened to it and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is not what I'm going for. And, when I started it, I thought at the time it was weird. I thought at the time it was like, I'll just get some reps in case I want to do media. But then I realized that it like satisfied this curiosity in me. Like, because I go to dinners or I meet people and I'm genuinely curious about people. I'm very interested in the human psyche, and it's given me this like amazing, ability to like interact with people. And then on top of that, as you mentioned, there's nothing better as an athlete than like having your own platform and being able to control the narrative. And I've used it in some ways, probably positively and probably negatively to do that. But like, I enjoy having it. If there's anything that happens in my life, it's as a player and even as a retired player, I can just go on the pod and talk about it.
When you were first starting your podcast, was there like that insecurity that like, oh man, once I start putting this out there while I'm playing, am I going to be like,
oh yeah,
my coach is going to think this way, or my teammates going to think a certain way? Like, how did you deal with that situation?
Yeah, I was fortunate because the Clippers at the time, I get asked that question a lot. The the truthful answer is anyone who was around me as a professional knew that my number one priority was basketball, even more so than my family. And I hate admitting that, but that's the truth. My entire day was structured around trying to be great at basketball.
Yeah.
So no one that I worked with would ever question whether or not I was making the podcast a bigger priority than basketball. I think for me, and it's still this way, I still get a little bit of performance anxiety when I record a pod, because like I just want anything I do, I want it to be good. This is why I'm so mad that I lost you guys in mini basketball. No, I'm serious. Like I just want it to be good. And so it took 20 to 30 episodes where I like legit wouldn't have to chug a beer before I started, just to calm myself down.
Really?
I would chug. It was I was living in LA, so it was the North Coast Pilsner. I would chug a North Coast Pilsner and just to calm myself down. Like, okay, all right, you're gonna be all right. And I used to fucking keep, I mean, like 15 to 20 pages of notes on each person, and I would like have every question. I would have a flow chart. I mean, I overdid it. And now it's like I record and I do my notes and I research and I work hard on it. But generally speaking, now it's just like it's natural, it's flows. I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing. 100 some episodes in, it gets easier.
It's way easier.
Yeah.
Because you can understand, like, the more you do episodes, like, it took us about 20 episodes. Every once in a while, too, like, we'll do an episode with somebody and we'll call each other in the car. But that was, like, our go-to in the beginning, was do an episode, driving away, call each other, like, hey, what'd you think? And then we'd go back and forth on what we thought we both could have done better, or, like, hey, if I do this, maybe you say that, or, like, go off it this way. And it was a difficult, trying time, because you're just kind of in this world that you know nothing about. And then you don't know if people are really going to enjoy it. And then as you do it more, it kind of just becomes like, you know what your audience likes and wants, like, and it's probably easier for me and Will because we're best friends. So it's easy for us to come up here, and because what we do in the podcast, we literally do outside.
Right.
So if it's just us two, it's never a difficult thing. Having a guest on is not a difficult thing for us, because at the end of the day, we can bounce back off each other, but it took us time and reps to learn that.
Yeah, I think with Tommy, I think that was part of the reason that I wanted Tommy as a co-host, which our last season of The Ringer, he was trying to get me to do it. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, I don't really want to do it anymore. So we did it for a few months together. And then COVID hit, pandemic hit, world shut down. We both simultaneously discovered Zoom, and we were like, oh, we don't have to do these in person. We can do them, over the internet and put some content out during COVID. And then Bill wouldn't let us own the podcast. So we were like, all right, we're going to leave. But I think having, like, that was my motivation for involving Tommy, and just having somebody like as a backup, bounce ideas off, to give me a pause during it. It's helpful. It's helpful. By the way, even this year, working for ESPN and kind of having a real sense of the landscape of sports media, like being in it and getting to understand it a little bit better. Like, we are in the first wave of athlete-driven content, the first wave. And like you mentioned, you're like, I was a pioneer. Like, I think all of us are. I think all of us in this first couple innings are pioneers in it. I don't think this is like a novelty, something that's going to be a short-lived thing. I think the future of sports media is going to be athlete-driven. Not to say that traditional journalists won't have their place in it, but honestly, people are starved for this. Like, we have been fed,
I agree 100%.
candy and soda for the last 15 or 20 years. And being able to peel back the curtain a little bit and offer someone a 3-course meal with a leafy green salad, I think people eat it up, man. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think not just that, but like the suit and tie, like, got to be super proper all the time. I think for us is we're kind of learning, like, people want to feel like, oh, these guys are just like me, type of vibe. Like, we might play sports, but I mean, we're sitting here in shorts and t-shirts.
Barstool does it better than
one of
anybody
the best
else.
parts about hanging out at Barstool. One of the best parts.
With you mentioned Bill not letting you own the podcast during that time. You said that was during the COVID. That was during the pandemic.
This was so our contract was running up. I think it ended like July 31st or August 1st. So it was basically 2 weeks into the bubble. And I told Bill in June, I was like, hey, just so you know, like, we are like going to other companies and being like, do you want to help us sell ads on our podcast? I'm, want to be transparent with you that this is happening. So please make an offer. And, they made an offer, but they were the only company that was like, you can't own it. And this was right around the time of the Ringer sale to Spotify. And so,
And not to mention Barstool with Call Her Daddy. Like there was a lot of IP conversations. going on out
exactly.
there.
And so that was just, it wasn't even a money issue because honestly, the Ringer offered us more guaranteed money than anyone else, but it was just like, I just wanted to own the IP. And even like simple stuff that you want to do down the line with, conversations or episodes. It's like, well, if I don't have control of that, like what good is it, And so it really just became bottom line, like, are you gonna let me own it? And he said no. And I said, okay, no hard feelings. That's fine. We're moving on.
Now, what was it called before?
The JJ Redick podcast. With
Original.
Tommy out
And
there.
he wouldn't let you keep that.
Yeah. And so we lost. I mean,
it's the same thing with Barstool with McAfee.
Yeah.
It's a Pat McAfee show now. It's Pat McAfee 2.0.
Correct, for sure. But you just almost think like, man,
we lost. Yeah. So we
It's
lost.
kind of crazy, right?
We lost our subscriber base. Obviously, our
That's got to be the biggest thing, right?
And I had done it twice already because I lost it when I left the Ringer. Yahoo. I lost mine then. So I've had to restart 3 times basically. What's
huge, what I think speaks so good to your audience, and it was like very like intriguing when like learning about you when we were doing Bussin' with the Boys, was that you guys amassed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube within 6 weeks.
On our Old Man
and the Three.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that we realized early on. It was like an epiphany moment. We had my last year with the Ringer, we did Zion in person in LA, and it was his first long form interview. And we did Jimmy right before, literally 2 weeks before COVID and March 11th and the world shut down. Basically, we put that on YouTube, and those are still the 2 most watched videos on the Ringer YouTube channel. So is this epiphany moment where like, oh, not only is it audio, like podcasts should be audio, they should be video, and then we should probably put stuff on social. And so like all of those things help just grow the brand and grow the audience. And I talk with people all the time that either want to do business with a podcast or our contract is up, and so we're talking about potentially doing deals with other people. But it's like I don't care about anything else. I just want to grow the audience. I just want people to appreciate the content. When I have a guest on, I want people to walk away and be like, hey, I'm a fan of that guy now. Like Pat Beverly is a great example of that. Like he is a divisive player because of however you view his antics on the court. But the greatest compliment I can get is like, I had Pat Beverly on the show and people are like, I used to hate Pat Beverly. I like him now. That to me is like, that's it. That's the juice for me.
Yeah. Pretty impressive. What's up?
No, you said and I was like, oh, Taylor's about to ask you.
Oh no,
Taylor, what's the juice for you
on this?
Yeah.
The juice for me is basically coming on YouTube mostly and like seeing like subscribers, seeing people commenting and like just loving what we're doing. It's still a crazy thought process to me that we're sitting here on mics, on cameras, and when you play a sport your whole life and you think, oh, this is all I'll really ever be good at. Like this is my one crack at the big whatever I'm supposed to do in this world. And then you go branch off and do something like this, and it's like you don't know if it's going to work. And all of a sudden, like it's kind of blowing up in a way that you're like, I can't believe people like this because it's so natural and easy for us to do. So it's just fun. I do love it when people come on. They say, hey, I thought I didn't like this guy, but I do like this guy. But for me, it's just like it's given me. I feel safer in my like own life after doing a podcast. As far as like,
I feel like we're doing a therapy session right now.
Yeah, but it is. It's actually something I think about all the time. There used to be a point in my life where I was like, football. If that's like the only main income I have, like, yeah, I've made a lot of money in football, but like, what if this and what if that? Like, am I going to ever be able to? Am I going to have to go work a 9-to-5 job or something like that? And then once we started doing this and it started really making money, I was like, oh, like I'm gonna be okay no matter what. Like, no matter what I do in my life, I'm going to be fine. Like, this was like that step, that little piece for me to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to be all right. Everything's going to work out.
I knew going into my last year of my contract with the Pelicans that it was going to be my last year. And the other side of that was so terrifying. It was so scary. And I had had a podcast, but I again, it was like is podcasting my future? I didn't know. And
It almost feels weird to say podcasting is my future too. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're like, is that even a thing?
but
Oh yeah, it's a thing now.
I know, but like, well, when you're like,
yeah, but
when
I
you first kind of start, you're like, is this really a deal? And like the last 3-4 years,
called
lots of money's come into it.
my parents. Actually, my parents called me because they were worried about me. It was New Year's morning. We had played a road game in Oklahoma City, I think, the night before. Got in late. I went to bed at like 3 a.m., woke up at 8, had a missed call from my mom. So I called my mom back and she was like, we're really worried about you. My family was in Brooklyn and I was living on my own in New Orleans. And I was like super emotional because on Christmas morning, we were in Miami and my wife had sent me a video of my now 5-year-old running down the stairs to the Christmas tree. And I basically checked out at that moment. Like, I was like, I just want to be home. I don't want to do this. And my mom, I told my mom, I was like, I just want to get in my car and drive from New Orleans back to New York City. Like, I just want to be home. And she's like, why don't you? And I said, because I'm fucking terrified, Mom. Like, I'm so scared of what the rest of my life is. Like, think about, you guys play youth sports. I'm guessing I started at 7 years old. I'm 37 now. I retired at 37. 30 years of my life. I'm not great at math, but I would guarantee that's probably high 80% of my life. 89% of my life has been wrapped up in sports. My identity, my ego structure, everything is so ingrained in being a basketball player.
Yeah.
And like letting go of that thing, fuck, dude, it was terrifying. But I can say to your point about like feeling safe about it, I'm like, no, I can do other things. And maybe it's this for a while, maybe it's something else, but it's a weird place to be, basically a year out of retirement to be like, okay, I'm gonna be fine. My life's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be all right.
Everything's gonna be all right.
It's like getting to that other side of it. Because you're right. Like, it's that example. We spend
Scary.
however many years of our life just doing one thing. And I feel like you're probably the same way. Like, even when you're in it, you have interest, and every kind of player and athlete feels like they have something they're kind of lining themselves up for. They have a curiosity, or, oh, I'm going to do this afterwards. Everybody feels confident. But when those, like, for me, it was just like 3 years ago, I thought that could potentially have been my last year. And you're just like, I was getting into real estate. I was journaling up the podcast, what it could look like. But I was just terrified. I'm like, man, I'm not playing a whole lot this year. Like, this could be it. Like, I truly have to. I've always been the guy that felt comfortable and be like, oh, I'll figure something out. Like, I already have a few things going, blah, blah, blah. But like, man, I really have to figure out like what I enjoy, because this could be coming faster than what I realize. And for me with the podcast stuff, like it's like you were saying, it like scratches that curiosity, that itch that you have. Like, I love like talking to people. I feel like if I get to learn something about somebody, like we've had on like Darren Wall or Max, we've had on a lot of incredible people, but a couple of those stories stand out where Max is talking about his sobriety, Darren Waller's talking about his sobriety, and just going in depth and like giving athletes kind of a platform to talk about stuff. And like you said, like you'll have people call and be like, yo, I didn't fuck with that guy, but that's really cool. Or it's just like, yo, I like this person, but man, I did not know he fucking went through that. And it's like really cool that you guys are able to like peel back layers because they feel comfortable sitting in front of you, because we're all athletes.
Right.
Because a lot of stuff that you'll give a microphone or to reporters or something, you're either in the locker room, your backup or somebody that you're competing with sitting next to you. Like, guys are around there. You're
Egos are up, walls are up.
Yeah, everything's up. You're not gonna actually give reporters and talk about stuff. Not because you won't give it to the reporter. One, you won't give it to the reporter, but also like the environment you're in, you're just not, your guard's up. Like you said, egos are going. And like when you're on something like this, I just feel like everybody feels more comfortable when they're talking with like athletes, or there's more of like an unfiltered approach. Like being for the boys, we tell everybody, if there's something that you don't like, let us know, we'll take it off. Like we've talked about jerk off stories that somebody's wanted theirs off, we kept ours on. But somewhere it's like, yo, just be yourself.
We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah. Like, yo, just let it fly and be yourself. And if you're
that part.
if you're driving
very
back
much,
and you want to take it off, we'll take it off.
People ask me all the time what this podcast is about. And I literally go, I think it's just like a bunch of guys in the locker room talking.
Yeah.
And it's like the conversations you would have. But another thing to what you were saying is like, we talk about all the time, like how you have like these blinders on, how you're so zoomed into the world that you live in. And like, not only, let's say, besides the podcast, like football, like I go and play football, and then I spend time in the offseason watching free agency, and then I spend time watching the combine. Then I watch the draft and see who the guys I'm going to go against soon, what they're going to be like. And then shortly after that, the schedule comes out, and then you're in OTAs. And then you have that 6 weeks break where you're just so focused and like your fight camp going into camp. It's a year-round thing. And what this has allowed us to do, or especially myself, because I get super caught up in like thinking like everyone is so focused and dialed in on Tennessee Titan football, when really if I just like zoom out for a second, it's like there's a bunch of people that are, but for the most part, like ain't nobody gives a shit what I'm doing. You know, it's like I'll be in camp and it'll be the middle of August and I'm right in the middle. The start is too far to see and the end's not close enough. And you're just kind of like fucking in it. And you have a day off and you go drive home and you say, you know what? I'm going to go cruise down Broadway real quick and see what's going on. And you go down Broadway and you see every type of person walking up and down, drinking, having a good time, going. They don't give two shits that the Tennessee Titans had practice today, or we were watching film, or who we're going to play. And it allows you to be like, oh, like, it's going to be all right. It kind of comes down to is like, oh, this isn't as overwhelming consuming to everybody as you think it is.
I experienced that at Duke because I felt like
I feel like they all wanted it there.
I feel like I was in a fishbowl at Duke, and when I got on the other side of it, I was like, oh, like Duke basketball, like it's well known, but it's not actually like that important. But at the time, it felt like every single thing I did was live or die. It felt very intense to me. Let me ask you guys a question, because my best friend, he works in television in LA, and I had lunch with him yesterday, and I was talking about the other side of sports, of, being retired and whatever. And he's like, you used to say this shit all the time when you were a player. Like, you used to say you wanted to quit. You used to say you wanted to retire. And I'm curious if you guys in your career, even if it was a great season, that moment you're talking about when you're driving down Broadway and you're like, people are just having a normal, good time. Like, there's so many things that I felt like I missed out on, like Christmas being an example. I think I played on Christmas Day 12 times in 15 years. And I carried like a little bit of resentment about that. Like, I don't know what it was. And there were moments where I was like, man, I could do something else. Why don't I do something else? Like, I started thinking about that. Actually, it was right after I had my first kid, because I could change my perspective about my time, basically. And I don't know. It's like I was definitely still into it, and I was definitely still committed. Even more so at the end of my career, I was a fucking psycho. But like I still carried like a little bit of resentment about all the things that went into it that prevented me from doing other things. Do you guys feel that at all?
Like me feeling it was probably, if anything, the last couple years. Yeah. Like when I know I'm kind of like, I have a foot out the door. Like I kind of know what I want to lean into and do when I'm done now with Bussin with the Boys and everything else. And so you think about it a lot more like when I'm in the season. But I would say like the first like 7 years, I would more so think like, I can't wait to do this when football's over with. Like, because it would be the same thing like with Thanksgiving. You don't get to do any of the holidays like during the season. Yeah. Like Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, all these things, New Year's. It'd be more so like, I can't wait to do this like when I get done playing.
Not complaining.
No, but it's
because it's a great life. And I never felt any sense of like ingratitude. I was always grateful. I was always, I would still like, even my 50th year, super frustrated, like, dude, I'm fucking 36 and I'm in the NBA. Like, how fucking cool is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I loved it every day, but it's still, there were moments.
Everyone goes through the grass is greener. And the thing is, there's so many different lives you can live on this world.
Yeah.
And so everyone always daydreams and think about what if. Like, I remember being in college and like having to get my weight up because I came into college super underweight. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, when I'm done playing football, I'm going to be so like jacked and skinny. And like, I still to this day, I'm like, man, I can't wait to fucking lose 60 pounds, and I can't wait to do this and this. And there was, we talked about it. We talk about it all the time. Like during the season last year, the season I was having, I had him over the house. I was like, I'm going to retire. I'm done. Like, and you but that's when you're like so in it. And then you start to realize like, hey, you're in the NFL. How cool is this regardless?
Yeah.
Like, it's just dope. You're living, every kid's dream is to be a professional athlete at some position.
We did it. We made it.
Yeah, we
congratulations.
We fucking made
congratulations.
it. We made it.
And it's just cool. It's a cool vibe. But yeah, there's always something you want to do other than what you're doing at that moment.
Yeah. Like I think I've retired the last 3 years.
Every year
this is it.
Since I've known Will, every single year he's been like, this is the last one. This is the last one. And now we're talking about year 10.
Year 10 now.
It's just crazy.
Do you think, like, I'm curious too, do you think there's a difference in basketball and football, like doing the media stuff and having personalities. But I think it's like, it's wild that Draymond has a podcast. I think it's awesome. But I'm like, damn, like he's got some stones when he go do a podcast like right after a game and talking about the game. Like, do you feel like there's a difference there? Because you obviously did the pod for like 5 years. Like, what's the sense like when you're around all the guys? Because when I went to Vegas last year, like everybody kind of knew about the podcast. I know everybody liked it, so it was all good. But when I was in the building and seeing like guys work and appreciating, kind of like, damn, like these dudes like fucking, they love, like I love ball, but I'm like, they love ball way more than the spot that I'm at in my career right now. To where you almost feel bad bringing up any of the stuff because you don't want to seem like you're like not in it as much as they are.
Yeah. Again, I go back to that point. I go back to like any teammate I've ever been around, like saw the dedication and work I put in. So I never sort of worried about that. On the basketball, football side, I mean, that's probably part of a larger conversation just about the empowerment that NBA players have right now, the player empowerment era that we're in the middle of right now relative to the NFL. And I don't think the NFL has gotten to the level that the NBA has. And probably some of that is our guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, the
way
players run the league more.
You know, again, it's
you get the right guys, you can not predict. Like it's a lot more competitive now, but
it's a lot easier to predict
like,
wins and
LeBron
losses.
and these boys on this team, like these teams are going to see each other in the final.
There's also just inherently, because of the way your cap works, there's like more parity in the NFL, and because it's a two-way sport, like in the NBA, it's like if you're one of the 5 best players or 10 best players, like you fucking run it.
Mm-hmm.
You run it. Now, some guys don't take advantage of that. Some guys do, but there's just more. I just believe inherently there's more power if you are a LeBron James or you're a Kawhi Leonard or a Kevin Durant. You just carry more than even a great all-pro NFL player does.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way the sport works.
Less guys probably. Like when you say run it, you mean like they run practice and meetings and they say we're fucking, this is what we're doing.
There's input on everything.
You have input on everything.
I don't know if you guys
it's like
have
an Aaron Rodgers or like a Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
Like Peyton, there's very few guys.
Kind of.
But I think every team in the all 30 teams you could probably name 5 guys in the NFL, 10 guys maybe. You could name the best wide receiver in the NFL, and
but
he's not having input on like who they should draft, or who they should trade. For.
Yes.
Where in the NBA, the top 2 guys on pretty much every team. I mean, I had that with the Clippers. And I was like the 4th or 5th guy. You know, I would talk to Doc, I would talk to L. Frank, I would talk to Steve Ballmer. Like I had that. You know, I had that with Philly when I went there. Like I wasn't even one of the best players, and I just think that because of, I don't know if it's less guys or it's just like, you know, we're on the court the whole time. You know, in the NFL, you're playing offense or you're playing defense. And to a degree, too, it's like the NBA, a great player can impact the game more than a great NFL player. Because I don't want to make broad generalities, but in general, like in the NFL, like on a play, you have a specific task to do. In the NBA, it's a little more organic where a player's talent can sort of shine in a bunch of different ways. Does that make sense?
Like
it does make sense.
The Mannings, the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's, like if you play good offense, like running the ball, and you can keep them off the field, like you can keep those guys off the field. Like those quarterbacks need the defense and need the special teams and literally everybody just as much as they feel like they can affect
basketball.
The game.
It seems like not knowing basketball, but like it seems like you have 2 or 3 dudes you can take over and do whatever the fuck you want almost.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Pretty much.
Like when LeBron,
as long as those dudes were like good in 2022 and not the last time they were good was like 2016, like the Lakers this year.
Right.
They built a team around guys that were good 6 years ago.
Is
that why it didn't? Is that why
LeBron still that man though?
Yeah. Yeah. He still is. I mean,
where would you rank him in the top 10 today?
I mean, he's in the top 10. I don't know.
Is he top 5 though?
It's hard to judge based on this year just because of how bad that team was and how badly that roster was constructed. You know, I probably to a degree, the Brooklyn Nets, not as bad of a roster, but also equally bad because the NBA has changed and it's very recent. The NBA has changed. Like, I really believe you need homegrown talent. Like, you have to draft well. That's the inefficiency in the marketplace. You have to draft well. You have to have homegrown talent. you can't buy championships anymore because you need all the ancillary pieces. You can go get 2 or 3 great players that are super max or max players. You need really good players 3 through 7, 3 through 8. And if you're going to have 2 or 3 max guys, those guys have to be on rookie contracts, or you have to be really good with finding bargain players in free agency.
But if you're the LA Rams, they went and they didn't do anything in the draft, and there's 53 guys on a roster in the NFL. How come you can't do that in the NBA anymore? Like, it seems like it'd be way easier to go pay 7 or 8 guys, and then have them be a super team. You saying that can't happen anymore?
Once you,
but the Rams just did that with way more guys. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I
understand what I'm saying.
I haven't put my GM hat on to be an NFL GM.
Yeah,
but I have put it on to be an NBA GM a few times. And it's just the general way our cap works. So there's a cap, and then there's a luxury tax, and there's a hard cap, an apron. There's the difference between the luxury tax and the hard cap is like an apron. So once you get into like 2 max players, then it's like, all right, we have 13 roster spots we need to fill out with essentially the super maxes are so high now, essentially like $40 million. So on average, you're going to pay guys $3 million a year, which is what the Lakers did this year. They signed, Avery Bradley, Trevor Ariza, DeAndre Jordan, like all these guys on minimum contracts. Well, if you're a free agent and you're trying to get paid, and another team has, let's say, the mid-level, which is $10 million a year, you're probably going to go take that versus 2.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just the nature of the salary cap. So unless you have those guys that you drafted and they're still on their rookie contract, and you're able to pay those players once they become free agents because you have their bird rights, but that's the challenge.
No, their what rights?
Bird rights.
Bird rights. What's bird rights?
Bird rights, basically, if you're drafted by a team and then you're a free agent, and that team is over the what is it? The salary. What's the
salary cap?
Yeah, the salary cap. If you're over the salary cap, you can re-sign them.
Okay.
So they came in with Larry Bird. So like when I signed with Philly on the 1-year deal, they didn't have my bird rights the following summer. So when LeBron didn't sign there, they signed me on another 1-year deal. Had I re-signed there, they could have gone over the luxury tax, because after 2 years you have early bird rights. After 3, you have full bird rights. And
this is all because of Larry Bird.
It's all because of Larry Bird.
Do you care to explain that situation to me at all?
Again, I'm not a complete basketball historian, but my general knowledge of the situation is that the salary cap came into place sometime in the 1980s, and Larry Bird's rookie contract was over, and the Celtics wanted to re-sign him, but they couldn't go over the salary cap to re-sign him. So there was a rule put in place in the collective bargaining agreement that you could re-sign your own free agents to go over the salary cap as long as you had bird rights.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good explanation.
That's a great explanation.
Thank you.
And for the Rams,
well, I'm not a historian, but here's exactly what you need to know.
And for the Rams question, I feel like they've been kind of cooking that team up for a couple years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like each year they've kind of added a different place. And mind you, they drafted Aaron Donald.
They drafted Aaron Donald.
Like
yeah.
They had Aaron Donald. They realized like, okay, they're missing a QB piece. They were able to trade Matt Stafford, and they probably felt
they got Stafford, they got OBJ.
Like they were close enough. If they got like the OBJ and the Von Miller, and they probably sat there and they're like, hey, fuck these draft picks. Like, let's try to win the Super Bowl this year.
I always find it fascinating with the NFL, like how you guys can sign a contract and then like 2 years later, like a new contract happens. We're like, we sign a contract, like we can't renegotiate our contract. If we're going to make, let's say a guy's going to make $20 million and a team wants to go sign another player, they're not going to go to that player and be like, hey, will you take 10 next year? It's like, no, it's just like guaranteed. Like that's what you get.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like,
it's a
real wishy-washy.
It's a hairy beard.
Is like, it's like this guy's cap, he's going to make $37 million, but his cap hits 13.
And it really depends on
that shit to me.
It depends on teams and how much like money they have.
Yeah.
Like if your owner has lots of money, then really the cap doesn't really matter.
Right.
Because Will could be making $10 million and his cap it's going to be 7.
Yeah.
And we can say, all right, hey, well, we're going to give you $9 million in a signing bonus right now. So now your cap hits 1 and you're making minimum this year. It's just a crazy concept.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
And we have a lot of tenders. We have a lot of like,
the tenders is wild. The 5th year, there's a 5th year option where if you're
a first round
draft pick, you get a 4-year contract with an option for the team to pick up a 5th year option. Mind you, you can get franchise tag twice too, because you can literally play 7 years on one deal, basically.
Yeah.
And if you're outplaying your contract, your rookie year where you're about to get paid, they can put a 5th year option on you. And the 5th year option is like you make an average of what the top 10 guys are making or something like that, which is usually top 3 or 4 guys make a lot of money, and there's a big difference in the bottom. So you kind of average
At your
out
position.
at your position, and then you can get get another. I think you can put another option on the guy again. No, that's franchise tag. That's franchise tag.
It's the average of the top 3, right?
Yeah,
the top 3 players. But yeah, you could
It's
essentially be on
crazy.
these 1 year deals, and they have your rights for, like Taylor said, like up to 7 years if they actually wanted to. But rookies nowadays, like if you start outperforming your deal, like going into that 5th year, if like they try a 5th year option you, guys are getting a lot, guys are like holding out or saying that they won't play and stuff like that.
Guys will hold out, and usually what teams do is they'll pick up your 5th year option, and then they'll negotiate as you're going into your 4th year, where your 5th year doesn't really matter anymore. But it just gives them more time just in case.
Right.
I signed my 2nd contract going into my 4th year, but they already picked up my 5th year option. They have to pick it up by what, your 3rd year?
Yeah, by May or something, right?
May or 3rd year.
Your rookie contract.
It's a wild deal. It's a wild deal. It's crazy when you're an NFL player and you guys we're all sitting here talking about money and stuff like that, and then we look at the NBA. It's like, yo, it's fucking wild how these guys kind of just run the show. It really just
I know,
seems,
we sit
from the
back
outside
and
looking
see
at it, it's like
we're like, motherfucker.
like these dudes are just making, like, I think Derek Carr literally,
He didn't even play that much. He didn't
Right,
even start.
right.
$10 million.
dude, Derek Carr signed his contract, not this most recent one, but the one before that. And somebody tweeted him, it was like a $128 million contract or something like that. And he's like, hey, congratulations. You make as much as the 6th man in the NBA now.
That's not true.
Well, someone said some shit like that. And I was like,
true.
that's just fucking wild.
That's not true.
But the money's crazy.
Like, have you been a non-starter and made a nice little baggie?
My 2-year deal with the Pelicans was nice. Yeah. I mean, I made like 13 and a half or something.
A year and you weren't in the top 5?
And I wasn't a starter. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
fucking
crazy.
wild.
That's good for you. I'm thinking that's crazy. Like, I didn't play either. Give me that.
That's crazy. If you're not a starter and you make $13.5 million,
It's different. It's different.
I don't know how.
It's different. How is it? What do you? I played my first year with the
Just
Pelicans. I
arguing about
averaged
nothing.
28 minutes a game and scored over 15 points and was 2nd in the league in 3-point percentage.
Go off, King.
All right,
No,
okay.
but listen, a guy in the NFL who's not a starter might play 10 snaps a game. Like there's a that's my point. There's a difference. So you're still getting
You can
production.
at me. I'm right here on
You're
the bus.
still
You can
getting
look at me.
Oh, shit.
Dude might not play a snap in the NFL. He's just like, hey, just look at me, man.
Man, I didn't say it. I didn't.
But 10 mil.
No, but I'm saying you're paid in the NBA based on production, and so you don't have to be a starter to produce. That's where the difference is.
Mhm.
You know,
That's true. And you guys have like way like less guys.
we have less guys. Yeah, and again, it goes back. If you're generally speaking, you have like a max guy or a couple max guys. You have a couple guys that get salary cap, which is what every time I was a free agent, I signed with cap space. I signed to a team with cap space.
Mhm.
Then you have like the exceptions. You have the mid-level exception. Then if you're over the tax, you have the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is about half of the mid-level exception. And then everything else is like minimum. So if
What's
you,
minimum?
it just depends on years of service. So like if you're a 10-year guy, I think
Right.
the minimum is 2.7, something like that. 2.7.
That's a nice, man. That's a nice little baggie.
I was like 1.
900.
As a 10-year guy, I think it's 1.
One
it's
for an
down to
NFL
9.
player is
Yes,
that's
bro.
the
Oh,
minimum.
so now you're on our side. You see him? Change the tune a little bit.
That's
I'm
what I'm
changing
saying.
the
Yeah.
tune. That's
Minimum
insane.
after you've played like 8 or 9,
Yeah.
10 years.
Mine this past year is based on like 980 maybe.
I think that's what it is.
How many guys
I wasn't
are
at 10
minimum
yet.
guys though that are like balling, that are starting and producing? And I'm not saying they're like necessarily all pro players, but
Mhm.
they're good. They're really good.
Well,
How many
Grade
on that?
out well in analytics.
I see. I think analytics is not the move.
But
So this
I-
podcast
I
is
know-
about
I know
well.
you have a
This
bad-
podcast is about well.
Yeah.
I know you have a bad a taste about like analytics and the PFF.
I just don't
stuff.
think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Stat-wise, like you can do it for quarterbacks, maybe wide receivers
You can do it to an extent. I feel like at every
to an
position.
extent, but it doesn't
At
tell
every
the entire
position.
story. When people say
I
numbers,
agree with you.
people say numbers tell the entire story. I disagree with that
I disagree with it
wholeheartedly.
too, and I love analytics in
Yeah.
basketball. There's the most beautiful synergy that I've can witness, and synergy, by the way, is a name of advanced stats company. The most beautiful synergy that I can see, like when I analyze this stuff, is my eye is telling me something, and I'll hit up a couple people I use for advanced stats. And some of the stuff I check myself, but I'm not great on second spectrum. I don't really know how to operate it. So I'll be like, hey, it feels like this team is running way more ISOs this series, and they don't run a lot of ISOs in the regular season. Can you look that up? And then it'll be like, oh yeah, they're running 40% more ISOs during this series than they do during the regular season. I'm like, oh, it matches up. Sometimes the eye test and the analytics, they match up. Sometimes the analytics tell us stuff we can't see with our eyes, and sometimes the analytics lie to us with what we see with our eyes.
Yeah.
Like Devin Booker's an example of this. He is, I think, he was like third on the Suns this year in win shares, right? He's going to be first team All NBA. He was top 5 in MVP voting. Like, he was their best player this year. But because of how analytics grade players out, he didn't fare particularly well. Like, you're always going to, in the NBA, you're always going to need volume shot creators. And he's great at that. And he does it at a fairly efficient level. And my eye can tell me that. But the analytics, they lie to me. They lie to me. They don't tell me he's as great as he is.
Mm-hmm. Very well spoken man.
He is.
Devin Booker?
You are.
Sharp. You're sharp.
No, yeah, I don't know Devin Booker.
To answer your question about the minimum things, I feel like it probably happens more for like defensive guys than offensive.
Yeah.
Because if you're like on offense, I feel like when you're having a year, like it's easier to see.
Yeah.
Like defense could be harder because there's a lot of variables that you sometimes need to go your way, like as far as opportunity and everything else. So if you might see a minimum guy balling on a minimum contract, I feel like it's probably like a vet that's on like a 1-year deal, probably defensively.
So here's another question I have for you. I'm glad I have you guys on my podcast right now, but I have another question for you. I'm curious about this, seriously. I think about the NBA and like a guy who's a free agent who needs to put up numbers. Like in the NBA, it's a lot of it is like your points, your rebounds, your assists, field goal percentage, all this stuff. Like you need to put up numbers. And so there's a way for a guy to basically have good counting stats, earn a nice contract, but have literally no impact on winning, either because he's playing on a bad team or because of his role. And he just, he's able to just shoot the ball whenever he wants. And I wonder if the NFL, if you're able to do that, like if a guy's a free agent, like, can you hide behind statistics? Or is in the NFL, are you just exposed at all time if what you do doesn't impact winning?
I think it's another one that goes for defense because you can hide behind statistics in a lot of ways. If because a guy, let's say a defensive end, he can have a lot of sacks. You can look at him and be like, oh, that dude had 12 sacks this year. Holy shit. And then you go watch his film and he might not be beating guys one-on-one. The quarterback might be holding the ball really long, or he gets flushed out of the pocket the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's an effort sack a lot of ways, which is one of the arguments I would have had with what's his name, who loves TJ Watt.
Oh, Jersey Jerry.
Jersey Jerry. TJ Watt's an unbelievable defensive end. He deserves everything he's getting, but a lot of his sacks are effort sacks as well. Like he beats dudes. Don't get me wrong. He fucking murders cats out there.
Are there statistics for that? Like how many times you beat
I'm
the
sure
edge?
there are.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where PFF comes into play. Pro Football Focus.
PFF.
The thing Willow was kind of alluding to with me was with PFF, they grade everybody every single day, and they have like these numbers come out. And it's a very difficult thing to do for my position because there's 1,000 different ways to run one play. And based on how we run ours, it's different than Washington does or San Francisco does,
right.
or, and so when you go to grade it, you can't grade us all the same. And so you need to have somebody that's literally in the building to know what to do. And that's where I kind of get off, like a little upset with numbers.
Right.
Because there's one.
We go back to the task part of it. Like you could do your task, but someone through their bias because of how they think the task should be run, grades you a different way.
Exactly.
But internally, the Titans could be like, "Oh, you did that perfectly."
Right.
Yeah.
And there was a point in 2016 where I was graded the number 1 tackle for like the first 9 weeks of the season, and I said the same thing then too. It's just like they don't really know what they're talking about when it comes to offensive linemen. Now with quarterbacks, I think running backs would be another difficult one to do. I think defenses would be pretty hard.
I think it depends. Like with O lineman, you could see it like if you're moving the guy out of the gap. Like you could be doing the task, but are you moving him to the sideline? Like for me as a backer, like I could take an offensive lineman on in the hole, but if we're stagnant or I'm barely getting moved, even though I'm doing the right thing, like I know I'm leveraging the right side to where I'd be, these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking
You're
about.
supposed to have the A gap, so you make sure you
but
keep
if
the A
Dante
gap.
Hightower takes on more of a thudder, Dante Hightower takes on somebody and puts the offensive lineman in the gap, you'd see why he'd get like a better grade because he's physically moving the guy more,
Right.
which could play into it. I'm not
But
sure.
a lot of
that
times
all
all you have to
makes
do is spill.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's so crazy because defense,
Sometimes I feel the same way when you're talking about some of the basketball stuff. I'm like, I kind of don't know what that means, but he makes that shit sound crazy.
it's crazy, right?
But yeah,
Basketball's a crazy
it would
world.
be more so defense where you could hide behind stats.
Yeah,
like DBs who get a lot of picks. You have you got a lot of picks. You made a lot of plays on the ball. You get a lot of sacks. He could be a bad run defender. Like maybe he's rushing to get a sack every damn play.
Right.
That's a great point.
With
Yeah.
DBs too, it's like if you get a lot of picks, that means they're throwing the ball on your side.
Correct.
Right. Like
Yeah,
have
you get a
more
lot of picks. Or
opportunity.
if you're a safety too, safeties do, like Kevin Byard. He's on the Titans. He had a lot of interceptions this past year, and he's just in the right place at the right time.
Right.
He can fool quarterbacks, that type of thing. But if you're a corner one-on-one, like Darrelle Revis at one point when he was on Revis Island, it was like you don't even throw to that area. Like he
Right.
just locks dudes down.
Yeah, the great ones, they probably won't have a lot of stats because the ball's not thrown to him.
Right.
But you know how it is, though. It all comes down.
Who's the cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys? Go ahead. We'll keep going. Stephon Diggs. No, the corner.
It is Diggs. It's the
Trevon Diggs.
Trayvon
Diggs. He's a guy, I saw a stat. I don't know if this is true or not. He had the most interceptions in the NFL last year, but he also had the most yards given up by any cornerback too. But he was all pro.
He would play aggressively. You could beat him on a double move because he's looking to get a pick.
He's trying to get them pickies.
He is a stud. But yeah, like the great ones. But you know how it is. All those numbers, all that stuff comes down to trying to gain leverage, in a negotiation.
Yeah.
So some guys it does work out. Others, it might not. But it all comes down to probably the negotiation.
Another thing is too, is supply and demand. Like a lot of guys will go into free agency and you'll be like, he's not that good, but he gets broke off because this team needs. Let's say there's.
The market's down.
The market's down. There's not many tackles.
I missed out on 2016 free agency by a year. I was a free agent in 2017. I tried to get a player option for 16 after the 16 year. I didn't get it with my Clippers contract, and I missed out. That summer was bonkers. That was the summer where, Timothy Mozgov got $64 million from the Lakers.
Holy shit.
Ooh. Yeah, we're going to take a break from Old Man and 3. We're going to get to Bussin' with the Boys right now.
Yeah, let's go with that.
We interrupt this episode to bring you guys Revitalite. Shout out Revitalite. No free shout outs. The boys at Revitalite have created an advanced rehydration solution designed to replenish vital fluids and minerals that are inside of your body. It's powered by the same electrolyte formula found in the baby aisle, but with an improved taste and texture more appealing to the adult eye and the taste buds. Revitalite is conveniently sold next to beer, wine, and liquor, so you can shop like an adult and hydrate responsibly. Barstool Black Label, berry frost flavor, and a pro tip, boys, drink half at night and the other half in the morning for optimal results. This is something I feel like I should have done at Mike Chandler's.
Yes.
Is drink half of the Barstool Black Label Revitalite, half in the evening, half this morning. I'm sure I'd be feeling much better right now. But go and pick up your Revitalite Black Label today in store or online at Barstool Sports, at the Barstool Store, and tweet us or tag at Drink Revitalite in your morning after stories. Now back to the episode. Dude, I want to talk about, I know you've talked about it openly, but your Duke days. You were one of the most hated players in college basketball, history. Obviously Duke as well, but just in college basketball in general. And there were times where you talked about quitting.
Yeah.
And I've seen that is it true that you've changed your number at times, your cell phone number?
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, my sophomore year, I've probably changed it 10 or 15 times. There were so many nights that year where I don't know who was the culprit. It was somebody from Duke that had a friend at another school that would pass along my number. And, it was UNC fans mostly and Maryland fans mostly. And back then I had the Nokia, and so I don't know if you could do this maybe in the upgraded model my junior and senior year, but early on, you couldn't
The snake
set an
model.
alarm and simultaneously have it on silent. So I would just get calls all night long, 30, 40 calls. As soon as the number shows up at a Maryland party or at a Maryland bar, my shit's blowing up over and over and over again. So I had to deal with that. There were times that Maryland fans would call me. They would call me the Antichrist, which is what? Again, this
is it true?
Goes back. No, it's not.
Okay, I was wondering if you're.
No, but
watch out, JP. You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to why I felt in a way, we're all the main character in our own story, right? We're all a little bit narcissistic, I think, inherently.
A lot of ways.
Yeah. But Duke felt like this fishbowl, and I was the main character, and everybody really hated me, and it was tough to deal with. So yeah, my sophomore year, and I may have told this story with Dan and Eric on their pod, but my sophomore year, I called my sisters to campus. It was during the Christmas break. I told them to come over from Raleigh, and they came over. There was this chicken place, and we grabbed a chicken sandwich. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I want to quit. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, I want to be a normal student. I want to go to class. I want to be a frat kid. I think I probably said I wanted to write poetry. I think that probably came out
Freehand
of my
poetry.
mouth.
When you're depressed, that is the
Yeah,
move.
It is the move.
That is the move for sure.
And then I didn't quit. Second semester, I went into what I would describe as a spiral. I mean, I was out every night, nights before games. I would drink 25, 30 beers.
Nights before games?
Yeah, show up the next day.
That many beers?
Oh, I counted. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You crush them like
the
that?
marker on the wrist
Yeah.
type move?
After the season, do you guys remember the OC? Please tell me you watched the OC.
Yeah, I remembered it, but I did not watch it.
Yes, that was the show when I was in college. That was like, we would record it on VHS. We record it and like watch it later.
That's wild.
So it was a Thursday, and I was like, the OC's on tonight. And I was like, I'm going to see how many beers I can drink tonight. And I started at 8:00 when the OC came on, and I got to like 39 by the next morning. And it was just like, that was my second semester at Duke. I was out of control. And a little bit of it was immaturity and selfishness. A little bit of it was rebellion, because I had my whole sporting life since I was 7 years old and watched Christian Laettner hit the shot to beat Kentucky. I was like, I want to go to Duke. I want to go to Duke. And it was like a dream come true. And then I get to Duke and I'm like, oh, everyone fucking hates my guts. Like, this is not what I signed up for.
Why did everyone hate you so much?
Because I was a Duke. I mean, if I'd gone to Florida or UVA, like, it would have been fine. I just would have been a normal kid. I would have.
Duke does have that hate vibe, huh?
They do, and it's like the white villain at Duke. Like, that was definitely part of it. I was next in line for that, because we had like 11 or 12 games my freshman year that we played at the beginning of the season. It was like home games, and then we played like UCLA and Indianapolis. We played Ohio State and Greensboro for the Big Ten ACC Challenge. We didn't have a road game till after the new year, and we go to Clemson. We come out for warmups, and the entire student section is chanting shit. 2 weeks later, we go to UVA, my home state. There's all these students. I had really bad back knee in college, and I had there's all these kids wearing like makeshift white Duke number 4 jerseys, and they had painted like red dots on their shoulders.
That's hilarious.
By the way, I thought it was hilarious too. I was very
At the
sensitive.
time, did you think it was funny?
I did, even though I was
Really
very sensitive about my shoulder acting. I was like, man, that's fucking creative.
Why didn't you go t-shirt under the jersey then? If you're insecure about it,
It was a rule we couldn't do it. I convinced him
Really?
my sophomore year. I went into his office. I may have cried, and I was just like, you got to let me
No
wear a fucking
shit.
shirt under my jersey. And he's
Damn,
like,
you
okay,
said
you
you
can
may
do
have
it.
cried.
when you say may have cried, you 100% cried.
I cried. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
cried.
brought-
That's a real deal.
Yeah. So the end of my sophomore year, we lost in the Final Four. It was a low point for me. We lost to UConn. We were up 8 with like 3.5 minutes to go, and they came back, and I had a chance twice, actually. Once to take the lead with like 10 seconds left. I got stripped, and then I had a chance with like 5 seconds left to hit a 3 to tie us, and I missed them both. And like that spiral that I was on went even deeper. And coach would like make me come in on Saturday mornings to his office, and he would meet with me. And he told me during one of those meetings, he said, we didn't win a national championship because you weren't worthy to be a champion. It was like the meanest thing anyone's ever said to me. And it was true. It was true, but it was like so soul cutting, right? That sent me further down. So my parents, because they knew I was having a tough time, for Christmas had given me a toy airplane. I'm like, what the fuck? It was a ticket, basically. They're like, wherever you want to go after the school year's out, you can go. So I'm like, all right. I was like, I want to go see my buddy, Duke soccer player. I want to go see my buddy in California. So I planned this trip. We went to Davis, California. We went to the Bay. We went to Santa Barbara. We went to LA, drove back up. Well, by the time I got to the trip, my parents knew that I was in a really bad place. I had $7 in my checking account. They're like, we're not going to give you any money for this trip. We'll let you still go on the trip. We're not going to give you any money. I basically like bummed off people for those like 10 days I was out there. And I got back from the trip, and I was supposed to finish an incomplete because I had not gone to class all semester either. So I was supposed to finish an incomplete. So I'm hanging out at my buddy's apartment for like 2 weeks. And I would wake up at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I'd start chugging beers. I'd have a burrito, party through the night, wake up at 2 p.m. I did that for 2 straight weeks. No one knew where I was. I told my parents I was in summer school. I told Duke I was back home finishing my incomplete. One day I get a fucking rap at noon on the door of the apartment, and it's Coach Collins and Coach Wojo. So I walk downstairs. I've literally got, by the way, I have one outfit. It's a blue Abercrombie shirt and Abercrombie cargo shorts.
Oh, it was the times.
The cargo
It was
shorts.
the times.
It was the times.
Yeah.
And I've got these flip flops that I had bought at the Gap in San Francisco with my last $5. They were on sale, and they're like come outside. So I'm like, all right. So I weigh 195. I'm 225, bro. I'm fucking fat.
Ricky.
I'm fat as fuck. I hadn't shaved in like 3 weeks. My hair's like SAE frat boy hair. You know what I mean? A little wavy, a little curly, right over the ears. They're like, come outside. We get in the car. We drive all the way back to
Just give me
campus.
a pause real quick. Where's your anxiety at when these dudes knock on the door?
10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
10 out of 10.
Which is debilitating.
Debilitating. There was bongs everywhere as well. Like it was a bad scene. Beer cans everywhere. In a way though, and I was like, finally.
Really?
Yeah, someone came to get me. I was like, finally. And so we go to campus. We're getting ready to, this is a random part of the story, but we get ready to turn on campus, and Wojo looks in the rearview mirror and he's like, nobody said a word, by the way, since come outside. Like I just followed them into the car. We get to campus and he's like, so what have you been doing? And I was like, I don't know why I said this, but I was like, watching movies. I was like, all right. So they took me up to Coach K's office. They dragged me through the 5th floor. He's on the 6th floor. They dragged me to the 5th floor to embarrass me and shame me, which I love that they did that because Wojo and Collins are complete assholes and I love them to death. So they dragged me through. I'm like looking like shit. And then we go up to Coach's office. We had a long hour and a half meeting. And, they basically, it was basically an ultimatum. It was like, dude, we're not going to kick you off the team. We're not going to kick you off camp, out of school, but you need to get your shit together. And like, we're going to get you, the help you need. So like I started seeing a therapist, saw a therapist the rest of my time at Duke. That summer I saw a psychiatrist as well. They put me on a fucking hourly schedule that summer. And it was, dude, I swear to God, I still have the sheet. It is 8 a.m. wake up, 9 a.m. check-in, 10 a.m. class, 1 p.m. study hall, 2 p.m. court, 3 p.m. weights, 4 p.m. run, 5 p.m. pickup, 6 p.m. dinner, 8 p.m. You're in your apartment, 10 p.m. lights out. And I did that all summer.
Would they check in your apartment to make sure the lights were out?
It was funny because it was 2 weeks into summer school. So I had to petition the dean to get back into summer school. They let me back in. I took a class on the Civil War, and it was the start of my transformation as a student as well that summer.
Yeah.
I got basically straight A's after that. But because it was so late in the summer, they were like, we don't, like all your teammates, all the managers, everybody they already have roommates. So there was this random dude, I don't know his name. There's this random dude on Central Campus. They were like, there's a person that has an extra bedroom in the 2-bedroom apartment on Central Campus. You're going to live with this person. And he had no affiliation to anyone I knew, any affiliation to the team. And I walked into the apartment. I was like, hey man, I'm going through some shit. I would appreciate it. I'm going to be friendly to you, but I appreciate it if you just like, let me be for the next like 6 weeks. And he's like,
What a first impression.
yeah. Yeah.
So what did he say to you?
He's like, okay, all good. No worries. And I would like see him like later on, like in my junior and senior year. And it was like a passing, sort of like.
Didn't know his
acknowledgement.
name.
No.
He probably talks about you all the time.
Oh, there's no
He probably talks about you all the time,
He's
dude.
probably talking about how he was instrumental in JJ Redick getting back on the horse.
Let me tell you something about JJ Redick.
Yeah.
When I met him, he was going through it.
He
See
was
what he's
going
done?
through
Yeah.
See what he's done?
That schedule, that was life changing
Yeah.
because that became the rest of my life. And I wouldn't have done what I did in the NBA or even done what I did at Duke. Had the length of career I had. From that point on, I was a psycho. I was an absolute psycho. It was like diligent routine, my schedule. That takes precedence over everything. I need to get my work done. I need to get my sleep. I need to eat right. I'm going to go after it like that over and over and over again. And I did that for the rest of my career.
Oh shit, dude. That's an incredible deal.
Yeah. What do you think?
Like discipline's the number one thing you need for success is what you're saying.
Well, I think obsession is.
I agree with that.
I think because even with like a creative, you don't necessarily need discipline. If you're super talented, I know guys in the NBA that aren't as disciplined as I was. I know guys that probably are more disciplined than I was. Like it's obsession. It's like the true love.
Mhm.
The stuff we were talking about earlier about like, fuck, man, I want to go have a beer on Broadway, or fuck, I want to go, have Thanksgiving dinner with my family. All those things, like we have to be more obsessed with the other thing. We have to be more obsessed with what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I always was. I was always more obsessed with it. And it's, so it was like the obsession on one hand, but then it was like learning how to be diligent, learning how to have a routine. I developed this routine as a pro player. It was sick because my routines had routines, and it was like to the minute on a game day, to the minute, starting at 8 a.m. Whenever I woke up, it was like to the minute. All right, it's 12:13. I've got 17 minutes till I need to eat lunch. It's 1:15. I've got 15 minutes till I need to take my nap. I'm waking up at 4 p.m. I'm calling the room service at 4:30. Like it was just everything was to the minute.
When you do stuff like that, though, does it ever feel like if something messes with that schedule, like your kids are doing something, your wife does something, you get in an argument with somebody and it fucks up your schedule where you're you're now off the minute?
Yeah.
Did it fuck up your game? Did it fuck up your situation? Because being that obsessive,
it would fuck me up in the moment. I don't know. There was one example I can think of where it really fucked me up in the game, but it would fuck me in the moment. I'll give you an example of that. My first game with the Pelicans, we're in Toronto. And again, they don't know that I'm like this.
right?
And so Jamel McMillan, Nate McMillan's son, comes in the training room, and I've started my routine. 90 minutes on the clock, I'm in the training room. 65 minutes on the clock, I'm in the weight room. 52 minutes on the clock, I'm on the court. 38 minutes, I'm finishing up my workout. I'm back in the locker room at 36 minutes. Like I'm starting that first game. And he comes in the locker room and he's like, hey man, you're shooting it. He said some time that was not my shooting time. And I fucking lost it on him. And Jamel and I are cool, but it was like our first interaction that we had. And I was like, what the fuck? What kind of operation is this? That's not my shooting time. I agreed to this shooting time this morning. I told you motherfuckers. Like, then I'm like, okay, I got to go apologize to like 7 people right now.
Yeah.
But that was
after the game. After the
and
game,
I
you
played well
apologize.
that night, like all that stuff. The one time was I was in Indianapolis when I was with the Bucks, and it was a different hotel than we normally stayed at. And I ordered my room service and it never came. And I went, I'm like, I'm running out of time now. I've got to go down. I've got to take my bags onto the bus. So I went down. I go to the restaurant. I'm like, hey, room service never came. They're like, whatever. They go get it. They gave it to me a minute before my bus time. So I'm eating like on the bus as I'm walking to the arena. And I was like 2 for 13 that night. And just couldn't focus on the game.
Was it because of the food?
Because the food was bad.
No, about your routine
Like what do you think about the routine there?
That fucked me up. Like
Messed
a
up my day.
superstition.
It messed up your day.
So it was all about control for me. It was like,
I get that.
Here's what I can control. I'm going to control this. And like, you're now fucking with my control. The one thing I can control is my routine. And now you're fucking with it. And I'm pissed.
Yeah. And it fucked up. Fucked you up. 2 for 13.
Yeah.
See, I've tried to be like that before during games, especially on game day. But one thing I've realized for myself, when I do best when I don't try to have control over anything. As long as like in my head, I'm like, oh, I just need to feel good before this game starts. I could show up 4 hours before the game starts. I show up 2 hours before the game starts. It does not matter to me anymore. But at one point I was like that, where I have to like wake up at this specific time, go get in the cold tubs, go from there, go get a coffee at that Starbucks. Then you get the coffee, you go right to the stadium. I used to be like that. But then one thing would happen, it would fuck me up. And then I would tell myself after the game, like, oh, it's because you messed up your deal.
Yeah. I got over that at Duke. Like by the end of my Duke time, I was like, my performance on the court is not because I made 3 out of 4 on the last spot of my routine and didn't make 4 out of 4. Like I just got over that part of it. I think it was more about just like, it was like, here's what I need to do to peak at 7:07 or 7:37 p.m. When that ball goes up and it's tipped, like here's what I need to do to peak at that time. So that was what it was about too. Besides the control, it was like there was a reason that I did everything. It wasn't like, well, I did tie my shoes a certain way and put on my jersey in a certain order, but it wasn't about
superstitious.
It was whatever. But it was like
everybody's got a few.
Everybody's got a few. Everybody's got a few.
You have a thing? Do you have a superstition? Yeah.
Not that I'm like thinking of, like, I love a pregame latte.
Yeah.
But
is that
I
like-
wouldn't say it's like a superstition. Like if I miss it, I wouldn't like think a certain way. I mean,
What if somebody said we don't have lattes? We're just going to give you an espresso shot. That's
I'd
not
be
gonna,
like, oh, I'm good.
you're not
I
going
just wouldn't take it.
I say I'm
Wait,
good.
Really? So it's not
An
about the
espresso shot?
caffeine.
No. It's not about the caffeine. It's just like the vibes going into the stadium. It's like about getting a latte. It's putting it in the cup holder. It's turning up ZZ Top, Sharp Dressed Man, LaGrange, all the ZZ Top, Cinderella Man by Eminem. A lot of like old school bangers, and like feeling good
That's a
walking in with a
banger?
latte. What?
No, Cinderella Man.
That's a
You
banger,
went
right?
You said ZZ Top 3 times and all of a sudden said Cinderella Man Eminem.
I
I was like, oh, fuck.
ZZ Top, yeah. Sharp Dressed Man, LaGrange, yeah. Like Cinderella Man's another one. Like if I'm feeling like I gotta have like a comeback game or a get back on track game in my head, I'm going to Cinderella Man when I'm walking inside, because to me it's like I'm Cinderella Man. I'm the fucking underdog. All that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
We all telling ourselves our story.
yeah.
You're always telling yourself
so
what you
that's-
need to do.
That's kind of like, I guess.
Is that because you listened to it one time before a game and you played well, and then you're like, okay, that's my song.
Yeah,
now.
some of that stuff does.
Yeah.
Like visualization, like running through a same reel in your head about
Yeah.
like old plays that you've made just to like see yourself do it and feel this and feel that. It's like a kind of like a routine like that. And then if you have a baller game, you're like, yeah, I got to go back to that kind of routine.
Yeah.
But if it throws off, I'm not
it's
like
the flow
thinking about
state. It's like that's the when I
Unlocking
talk about
Superman.
when I talk about peak, getting to the peak, like hitting the peak at 737. it's
Yeah.
like, what are the things I need to do to get into a flow state? Because as an athlete, like if you're not in the flow state, you're okay. Maybe you're shitty, but you're not like the best version of yourself.
Right. You're in your own head a lot.
Yes.
It's also one of the most difficult things to achieve is the flow state.
100%.
Just be like nothing else matters. You're so present right now. You're not thinking about anything else.
Yeah, for sure. One time in Tampa, it was like before the fourth preseason game. It was the first time I made the team outright. So I was in my second year. Went through preseason. My anxiety's at a 10 because I'm like, this is it. Like, I got to make the fucking team.
Yeah.
And I had ice cream before the game, the night before the game.
Oof, why?
I made myself up ice cream, M&Ms, had some caramel, some fudge on that thing.
Fuck.
And the boy balled. Like the boy played well. I got led the team in tackles that game. The boy
You had
balled.
him, huh?
Yeah, and so sometimes like that would be my reason for having like ice
Wait,
cream.
is that
before a game.
flow
'Cause
state?
I literally think back to myself. I'm like, it puts me in like a, I don't know, it puts me in a good mood. Obviously, some ice cream puts anybody in a good
Anybody
mood.
in
But
a
I'm
good
thinking
mood.
like, if everybody's like, "Con, why you eat that the night before a game?" I'm like, hey, you just worry about yourself.
You just worry about yourself. There are dudes. Everyone. I don't know every team you've been on, but the Titans have a Sunday station every night before a game. You're like, why the fuck is
Yeah,
this
I feel
out
like
there?
everybody
That a
does.
Duke. It
Yeah?
didn't make sense to me.
It's like, what are we doing here with this thing?
100%. I feel you guys and I
Mm.
agree, but I had that
When
one
you-
moment.
We go back to the flow state thing. When you're in a flow state, it's like the game goes by so fast and it's over. But there's other games where you're not, like you're the opposite of flow state. Don't know what that is. Unflow state. And you remember everything. Like Michigan was playing Notre Dame. It was the night game when we came back. It was like 100, a minute 42 left in the game. There was like 5 scores or whatever. That's the one where Denard threw it in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
And we won it. Anti-flow. Thank you. And me and my girlfriend who I was dating at the time, like I cheated on her or she cheated on, something happened like 2 days before.
You know what happened.
I cheated on her. there was like a discrepancy. There's something was going on, but it was during that game, and all I could think about was trying to get her back. And I played the entire game, and I played all right, played pretty good, decent, but like the whole game, I was not ever invested in that game. I was just thinking of, like, how do I make it up to this girl?
Was she at the game?
Probably. It's 115,000. How can I tell?
I know.
You
You
know
know,
what I'm
sometimes you know where your girl sits and you feel like
No,
something's
see,
off.
I never knew
You
anything
keep
like that.
Looking at where they're sitting.
No, see, I never had that. Not till like the NFL where I knew like where people were sitting.
Yeah.
And my dad would always sit in a certain spot, and I was kind of look up at him every once in a while. But
Right.
my girl,
Yeah, every game my dad ever came to, even youth basketball,
Yeah.
I'd always like find him.
find him.
The flow state part is like when you're not in that state, you're thinking about what just happened. So it's like that you're carrying something to the next play.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, oh shit, I had a turnover. Okay, that's like a tally. And then like I'd be like, all right, I made a shot. Okay, now we're even. Oh, I missed a
Dude,
shot.
you are
Tally.
preaching right now.
Okay,
Yes.
I just had a good pass. That's like then all of a sudden, like, what are you playing? You're not
Right.
actually in the game. You're like doing this tally
You're
in
playing
your head.
chess in your head.
Yeah, it was very detrimental to the overall product
Wow.
that I was trying to put out on the court.
There would be times where I'd be like so stressed out about games that I would do that on purpose. Right, but okay, all you have to do is just play well in this series, and you play this series. Okay, that was a good play. Hey, I could have done better on that play, but like that won't be like a minus. That'll be like a
Yeah,
zero.
but man, I made that good play on that
Yeah.
earlier series.
Well, no, it's like you start playing the like a lot of times the way they grade is like minus 0 plus 0. You did your job, minus you didn't do your job, plus you did something extra there.
Okay.
And so I like go and I have like a couple of I have like zeros across the board, 1 minus and a plus. I'd be like, oh, I'm up, and even like. A plus to me would be double what a minus was, in your head. But you're like playing this game, so you can tell yourself, I played good. Any way to tell yourself I did well.
What about the feeling of being in the arena, being on the field, on the court, whatever, and just knowing that you're shit? Like knowing that you are having
September, what was the game this year?
Game of your life.
Oh yeah, unfortunately we were all at.
And you're like, you can't escape it, and you feel like everybody knows that you're shit. Everybody knows you're terrible.
What game was that?
The worst fucking feeling as an athlete,
bro.
September 12th, 2021. I tore my ACL in October of 2020.
Insurance policy.
I'll have the floor. Right? All right. So, and in my head, I'm like, comeback season. I'm with the boys, all these guys the whole year. It's like, hey, this should be a comeback year. I feel great. I feel amazing. And I wasn't feeling the best. I go into camp and I'm like, no matter what, this better not be the film I want to see right now. Roll the tape. I'm like, I have to start. I go out to play. They announce the offense. I'm fucking waving, crowds going wild. I gave up 2 sacks in that game, got dusted. Well, that's Chandler Jones getting 5 sacks. This dude, Chandler Jones, 55, he got 5 sacks in this game. I gave up 2 to him. This is me right here getting beat.
It was like within the first 3 series. This is
the next series. This is the next series.
No chance.
So stop it. So at this point, I've given up 2 sacks. It's the first fucking quarter still, and I'm like, I've never done that in my life. That's never happened to me ever in my entire life. Where in the first quarter of 4, I'm having a horrible game. Like there's no way to come back from it. The rest of the game just got worse and worse and worse. I'd be sitting on the sideline, and like you just feel like everyone's looking at you. I went and got an IV because I was cramping. Thank God. That's what this sack is. You can go back. This sack is Kendall getting beat for a sack. I go back into the game. I played the Tennessee Titans my whole entire career. I go back into the game, and what do they say? The announcer, loved the guy. His name is Matt. He did a real fucked up move. He goes, Taylor Lewana's back in the game. The whole stadium, not the whole stadium, but the stadium starts booing. And I'm just like, Will, I saw Will up there.
Me and his wife are in the suite just fucking booing him.
Yeah, it was tough. Dude, it was the worst. The worst feeling in the entire world.
As a offensive lineman, when you get a penalty, what's going through your brain?
Don't care.
Same thing? No.
Hey,
no.
Old Man in the 3. We're in the Old Man in the 3 podcast right now. He's podding you up.
Well, yeah, okay, go ahead.
You know what? You guys have the floor.
I was gonna say, what's the worst moment? What's that situation for you?
Game 1, 2019 playoffs against the Nets. I was some shit, and they kept targeting me and ISOing me, and I fouled out with like 4 minutes to go.
What a blessing.
Did you foul out? You're like, yeah, I'm gonna try and foul out.
If
I was able to foul out of the Cardinals game, I would have fucking done it.
Yeah. It is a little bit of a blessing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the great thing about basketball. You have other players that can produce. So like if you're having a shit game, sometimes they'll just be like, all right, we're going to relieve him of his duties and we're going to go with the other guy.
You saying getting benched?
Yeah, getting benched.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes
I'd rather just foul out.
Thank God. But and then D'Angelo Russell waved me off the floor. He drew the 6th foul. He waved me off the floor. And as I'm walking off the floor, I was playing in Philly. The whole Philly, crowd is booing me.
Yeah, which they're insane fans.
They are insane.
And like that was a low point for me. That was a low point. The other part was like playing with Chris, and I love Chris, but like he demands so much of his teammates, and there were games where like I would not play well, and I would feel like this overwhelming sense that I let him down.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't reach his level that night, and that probably hurts more than like getting booed by a crowd, right? Because to me it was always about like, am I accountable to my teammates? If I'm accountable to my teammates, like fuck everybody else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that those moments probably were worse.
Yeah,
they're the worst. It's the
What's
whole 2000. I'd say 2016 Thanksgiving game. versus the Dallas Cowboys. Like I've talked about it before on here, but when I missed 2 tackles in a row on Ezekiel Elliott, and not only that,
Stud.
but Dak would check at the line of scrimmage, and I knew like what the run plays were. He'd be like, he'd like step back and be like, whether it be like Pope or Giant, like I would know what plays were coming and what they were
Is the
checking.
TV copy?
Because of the TV copies, yeah. And I would know what the play is and tell people, and fucking he broke a tackle from me. I like leave my feet diving off the diving board.
Yep.
And the second missed tackle, the first one was in my head, and I'm thinking, don't miss this tackle. And you know, that usually never works out for you.
Universe doesn't hear negatives.
Yeah, and then they come. There it is right there. Right
Dang.
fucking there, dude.
Oof.
And it was a big one.
Go back.
They drive all the way down.
Play it again. I want him to hurt like I did earlier.
They drive all the way down and score, and we get to the sideline, and I'm sitting on the bench, and that's a time for me when
Oh, you really missed it.
I really
He
missed
stiffy
it.
you?
You really
Yeah, I mean, he had a hand on me too, and then he does the fucking
Eating.
feed
Which,
me.
by the way, Ezekiel Elliott stole that from Denard Robinson.
And then they score, and I go to the
Well,
sideline.
hold on. Your effort did not look great right there.
That's a minus. That's a minus.
Yeah,
on
it
that
looked like a
play.
minus right there.
Yeah, we can go ahead and say that. And I'm sitting on the sideline, and I'm wondering, I'm like, man, everybody, like, it's a Thanksgiving game. Everybody's watching the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And I saw an article, it was like the most televised like football game that year and shit. And it's just, I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I wonder what people are saying about me on Twitter. To me, that was a moment when I knew social media and other stuff was consuming my mind more than, forget the last play, move to the next one. It was more like, I can't miss this tackle because I'm on the big stage and everybody's going to fucking think I'm trash or know that I'm trash. And that game is one of those games you're like, man, just get me fucking home and off the field.
It's a weird thing
I
as
feel terrible.
It's a weird thing as an athlete. I don't know if you've ever felt this way of feeling like you've made it, like you're a starter in the NFL or you're a starter in the NBA, and you think to yourself, man, I hope I don't get exposed so everyone knows I don't belong here.
Imposter
There's a
syndrome.
feeling.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, the
Imposter syndrome, yes.
Yeah.
That's normal.
That is? Do you
That's
felt
normal.
that?
Oh yeah, that's normal. That's
Okay.
normal. Most, I think
Doctor.
most. Well, it's years of therapy.
Yeah, I love that.
No, but it's. I think most high achievers in anything, if you asked, I don't know what the percentage is, but it'd be a large percentage of actors, actresses, musicians, professors, like unless you're a narcissist,
Mhm.
like that has like delusions of grandeur, like you really do think at times like, oh, I'm going to be exposed. I'm going to be exposed as a fraud. That sucks.
Yeah, it'd almost be
Yeah.
better to be a narcissist, honestly. It sounds like a nice deal. Like you just don't know.
I
Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah.
Like,
Like
can I be
ignorance. I wish I was
Yeah.
like super.
like,
ignorant.
I'm that dude. Everyone's like, no, you're not. You're like, you guys are haters. But it's just fucking, you're a narcissist. I gotta become a narcissist 2022. That's my shit.
Narcissist Taylor.
Yeah, let's go.
Hey, I do want to ask about your therapy. Do you feel like the therapy stuff is where that started to help you make your shift mentally in basketball? Like, what did you learn from therapy about yourself that was holding you back?
It's a great question. I think I learned I learned who I was. I think I became more comfortable with who I was. And you guys ever take personality tests?
Yeah.
With the Enneagram or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I did a bunch in college. I did them in the NBA. I took one recently. My wife made me take one recently. And like 15, 20 years ago, if I'd taken one, like on the introverted, extroverted scale, I would be like 95% introverted. And if I took one now, like I'd be like 55, 60% introverted. So I'm still introverted, but I like have gotten comfortable enough with who I am and myself and enough confidence in like the person, not the player, but the person. Because I was confident as a person, I could navigate NBA locker rooms. I could be a great teammate. I could be liaison between the coach and the player. It helped me on the court. I'm just like, I think it gave me a sense of perspective about who I was and my value as a human being. Again, it's like I'm 19 and everybody's like, fuck you. You drink your own pee. The best t-shirt I ever saw, I was at Maryland my sophomore year, and these guys had these white t-shirts done and my picture was on the front. So I went a little closer to see what it said. And on the front it said, when I grow up, I want to name my kid JJ Redick. And so when I got close enough, they turned around so that I could see what was written on the back, and it said, and beat him every day. which is just fucking insane.
Yo, that's savage.
Savage, right?
God.
So like, I'm 19. I'm like, fuck, dude. So I think
Did
it
you
was.
drink your own piss?
No, I never have. I never
Okay,
have.
just-
But it was a
kinda
very
said that.
clever
You gotta
thing.
try it.
So I think it was like becoming like just confident. Like I don't think it's egotistical to be like sure of yourself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You can still be sure of yourself and be self-aware enough to know when you're wrong, know when you fucked up, to know that it's not all about you. Like my dad, that was the greatest piece of advice I've ever got in my life. He'd tell me that every day as a kid. I'd complain about something, he'd be like, JJ, it's not always about you. It's not always about you. That helped me, as a basketball player in a team sport. It helped me navigate everything. I think that's what it came down. That's the real benefit. Later on in life, as I became confident in who I was, I still see I've seen a therapist that lives on the West Coast and he comes into New York like once a month, and I talk to him on the phone. But that more is like almost performance coaching.
Mhm.
You know what I mean by that? Like, and he was the guy along with my wife, really. But he kind of helped me get that last 1% to retire. It was like 99% of the way there for like a year. And it was such a hard thing to let go of, and so him and I like met a couple times. We did a bunch of these like time value proposition exercises, and we worked through some things, why I want to play, why I don't want to play. And by the end of the second meeting, it was like, oh, dude, it's crystal clear. Like it's not even a question about whether or not I should retire. I should retire. Like it's time. And I was very comfortable with doing it. So
Damn.
Yeah.
have you guys aren't in therapy, see therapists?
Oh yeah, I see therapists
yeah.
every week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I first started doing couples therapy before we got married.
Yeah.
And then we like fell in love with the whole therapy aspect.
Yeah.
Like emotional intelligence, all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
I like love like looking into that stuff because I feel like your psyche, it's
Yeah.
like everything, right? Like losing control of yourself in a moment, like figuring out like why am I reacting to this, or why am I getting upset, or losing control, or what am I scared of? Like being in therapy and actually talking about like it's like you get the dead ends like when you're in conversations with friends or buddies or something else, and you don't nearly go as far as what you would in therapy. Like there's nowhere to go and you're in a safe place, and then they ask those extra questions that actually get you talking about like the underlying thing that like breaks you, and then you're in tears for whatever reason. And then you come out of it and you're like, you start learning about yourself a lot more. So
I'm glad that
awesome.
this is a safe space for us.
This
Yeah.
is a safe
is
space. This is definitely a safe space.
This is-
You work with what's the dude's name you work with?
Armando.
Armando.
He's part of Cheat Code, and he's like supposed to do a bunch of things. He does like sound waves and different songs and stuff like that. And you put those on. He talks you through stuff, and it's pretty cool because you talk about what's bothering you in this moment. It's like a present feeling. Like what's the thing that's bothering me the most? And he'll be like, all right, look forward. Like how do you feel when you look forward and think about it? You're like, well, I feel this way. And then you look right and look left, and if you're really present, you can notice like when you look, whether it's right or left or middle, like some areas feel worse or better than others.
Really?
So whatever's worse, he'll be like, all right, let's start there. Or sometimes we'll start what's better. And then you just work through. He's like, all right, now fixate on a spot. And then every 60 seconds, he'll be like, what are you thinking about right now? And then you start talking to him. And then at one point while you're talking, you'll be rambling. He'll be like, stop right there and go with that. And then you just kind of keep working through it. And I'd say majority of the times ends in tears.
Really?
Because you're just trying to figure out, why do you do certain things so that other people approve of you when you can't just approve of yourself? Like, what is that from being a child or whatever? And like, how do you get to a point where you're the only one trying to prove something to yourself? And it's like you said, like the whole growth thing it's the most important thing. It's the most important thing as a human to do. And we talk about reading, like we're both like trying to read more. And when I go to read, I'm like, to look at a fiction book, like a book that's not real, or it's not a self-help book. Like it's so hard for me to go and read that because I could go find something that's going to help me like be a better person,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something definitely, and it's like you say it all the time. It's the most important thing, like with whether it's sports, being a father, being a husband, all that stuff.
On the emotional intelligence
He's doing it again.
piece, no, it was not a question. It was a comment to Will's comment. Is that okay?
That's all right.
Okay, all right.
Carry on.
Immediately when he starts talking, he's doing it again.
No, I would say this is a little bit of a callback to what we were talking about earlier about will I ever be good at anything else? And I think what I realized at the end of my career, and what I've realized over the last 9 months is like, when you develop that side of your personality and develop that side of your brain, you can fit anywhere. Like being able to, like what we do, what you guys have done for a long time, what I did for 15 years and prior to that at Duke and high school, AAU, all that stuff, like what you do in a locker room and being able to navigate that year in, year out, like that is building a skill set. And by building your emotional intelligence, like you can fit anywhere. You could do anything. I really believe that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to develop a rocket that's going to take us to Mars.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I
We
can
have
do
Elon
that,
for that.
but there's other like that. That's like almost like a skill set that is overlooked, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Have you read Emotional Intelligence 2.0?
No, I haven't.
Where do you get the emotional intelligence thing from?
The first time I heard it was actually is now become a good friend of mine, David Solomon, who now runs Goldman Sachs. I met him when he was not running Goldman Sachs. He was not the CEO.
Okay, flex.
Met him. Yeah, it's a little flex.
That's a
But
good
no, but
flex.
it was
It's a really
it was
good
like
flex.
the
It's pretty cool.
first time. It was the first time I'd ever heard the phrase. I spoke at this. This was like in 2016. I spoke on this panel at this retreat that Goldman Sachs was having for like tech and media CEOs. I have no idea why I was invited. I really, truly don't know. But I spoke on this panel with Maverick Carter and Casey Wasserman, and David and I spent some time together at the dinner that night. And it was the first time that he like brought it up. He's like, "Hey, you have good emotional intelligence. Like, you could work on Wall Street if you wanted."
Mm.
Like, oh, so then I like started reading about it. Then I started thinking about like how it relates to my own life. Then it goes back to like anything we do as an athlete, like our routine, visualization, all that stuff. It's like that constant flow state. And so like being able to check in with yourself. What am I projecting on other people? What is that person projecting onto someone else? Like I'm constantly thinking about that. You know what I mean? That's why it's been so enjoyable for me to have you guys in my chair and ask you these questions.
It's been very special. It's been a very special time.
We interrupt this fantastic episode to bring you another sponsor, Whistle Pig Whiskey. Piggyback. Whistle Pig Piggyback Whiskey, dude. Piggyback is made with 100% rye whiskey for bold, full spice flavor. Aged 6 years with a high of 96.56 proof. It's the first 100% rye whiskey, perfect for sipping and mixing. Trust us on this one. It's truly 100% of the good stuff. How do you drink your Whistle Pig? Why don't you let the boys know in the comments? Type that thing up. Send a little tweet, maybe tag something on Instagram. Let us know you drink that thing. Honestly, it's excellent on the rocks, but it can be delicious. It's very good as an old fashioned and a whiskey ginger.
I love both those things, but if I'm just drinking my rye, I
Yeah.
Whistle Pig, which I do love to do, I'm a neat guy.
Really?
Neat. No rocks, no nothing. I
Wow.
want to taste all of it.
My man's a savage. I honestly, I like it on the rocks, but one of those to add to the little mixing boys is a whiskey sour.
Whiskey sour, that's
Yeah.
a sleeper.
It's
That's a sleeper whiskey
now.
drink.
It's a sleeper now, and with the Whistle Pig, it's pretty unbelievable. Get your own bottle at shop.whistlepigwhiskey.com or at a local retailer. And now back to the show.
Are we doing tier talk?
Oh, we got some tier talk.
You want to have some tier talk?
We can have some tier talk.
Let's do some tier talk.
Now, my question, so tier talk, you guys are getting familiar with tier talk, everybody out there in the audience. It's something newer that we've done, but we have a tier system. We have our audience. There's tier 1s out there, tier 2s and tier 3s. Now we bring it into a segment where we rate things. Most notably recently has been the burger thing. That's went out there a couple times where we rated In-N-Out.
Which, by the way, what's your
Five
favorite
Guys.
fast food burger?
I saw all that. My favorite fast food burger, man, it's definitely not In-N-Out.
Okay. Well,
Oh, that's all we needed.
then the
That's all we
question's
needed,
over.
baby.
Then the question is now over.
Like it's fine. It's not like.
But you watch my thing and you're like, yeah, he's
No, I
speaking, he's
I
speaking.
totally co-sign with you. I'm like, yeah, it's like it's fine. It's fine.
Fuck yeah, dude. This is great. I'm having a blast. Okay, go ahead, Will. Talk about
Hang
tier
on, let's
talk.
hear what his favorite fast food burger is.
I'm actually gonna go. I would probably say Whataburger because I lived in Austin and that's probably like I think it's good. I don't.
What a
but
burger
are we
is
like
a solid
but,
burger.
like are we doing like is Five Guys fast food? Is that not fast food?
That's a big question people
That
are
is like a
saying right now.
controversy.
Yeah.
Because there's no
There's
drive-through.
no drive-through,
Mhm.
which I
Gotcha.
understand.
And
So
that.
Five Guys is more on the fast casual side, like Chipotle, basically.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Fast casual. It's the second time I've heard that. Charles said it about Shake Shack. She's like, Shake Shack, I think is awesome. She's
Yeah.
like, but it's a little more fast casual because
It's
there's
not
no
fast
drive.
food. Yeah, it's not fast.
There's
food.
no drive-through, and I'm like, the fuck's
Yeah,
that?
you
mean?
fancy.
Yeah, you
You fancy. You
What do
fancy.
you think the number one burger is? Because I'm sure you've talked
Five
about it.
Guys.
But that's not fast food.
Yeah.
Okay, so just drive-throughs. I bet you In-N-Out Burger makes it up there, doesn't
I was gonna say Shake Shack, but I mean Hardee's.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, Carl's Jr.
Yeah,
Carl's
Carl's
Jr.
Jr.
That's
Hardee's
easy too.
Yeah.
Hardee's is fire. Whataburger's good. In-N-Out is good. And I've said In-N-Out is good.
But
not
you
great.
think In-N-Out Burger is better than Whataburger?
No.
You just saying
No,
that.
I'm lying. I'm lying. In-N-Out Burger is better than
So
Whataburger.
In-N-Out would be your number 2 best fast burger. You go Carl's Jr. 1, In-N-Out 2.
I don't know, man. Stop.
Once Five Guys is taken out for you, you kind of fall
and
apart.
Shake Shack, because I think Shake Shack's good.
Yeah, you kind of fall apart. You're just a classy bitch, dude. You know what I'm saying? The classy bitch.
That's funny as fuck.
All right. So basically, so Tear Talk, go ahead, Will.
Sorry, you rattled me. I'm not even thinking about that anymore. I'm trying to think of other fast food.
Because we just found out that everything
I
Will's
think-
built himself on the
I
last
think-
2 weeks
I
is
think-
not real anymore.
I think the spicy ketchup is overrated at Whataburger.
Okay.
Because Texans are big on that.
First take.
The whole thing for me was coming from Missouri, like you'd be in the locker rooms, and when you travel to like a Texas game, or we go on the West Coast to play Arizona,
Yeah.
and the guys who are on your team are West Coast, like, oh, we got to go to In-N-Out.
Yep.
And dudes from Texas, immediate argument in the locker room about Whataburger and In-N-Out. So I always look forward to going to these spots to try all these different burgers.
Yeah.
And now that I've had them a few different times each, I do think I wanted to like Whataburger more because again, I more so like love to just argue against the West Coast people because they're so prideful about In-N-Out Burger. But I would say In-N-Out Burger is probably a better burger than Whataburger.
You got to try Fat Burger too. Well, that's not really a drive-through either.
Yeah.
That's casual, man. We learned something.
Yeah.
But on this Tier Talk, we're going to be doing, should we do pizza toppings or pizzas?
To where you can combine certain toppings and it's
Well, then
like
that's
your
just a
three.
pizza.
That's just a
But some
pizza.
people like just a pepperoni pizza or a cheese
to-
pizza
I
or
need to
like
calm it down.
whatever.
We're not
So-
we're
But
not
that's the thing. You can
we're
say
not
cheese
ranking
pizza.
toppings themselves.
Yeah, that'd be difficult to do.
When-
I don't
when
know
you-
where I'd stand on that.
No,
I
but
don't know where you stand.
If I had to rank the number 1 topping,
That's what I'm saying. Like, are we going to say if Taylor
It's
says
your guys'
this,
show. I don't know how the tier talk works.
we're still
Yeah,
we're still
I
finding
think-
we're still treading water here.
I think it's best pizza.
I think best pizza.
Yeah, whatever is your
Yeah,
best.
Your number
pizza.
1 favorite pizza tiered. You know what? We'll do our 3 favorite pizzas, and then you guys will tier it for us.
no, what do you mean
No.
tier for us?
Because if we're doing tier talk, there's tier 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So if JJ says my favorite pizza is X, and you say my favorite pizza is Y, and I say my favorite pizza is Z, how are we going to tier that? We can't, because we'd all would say that our pizza is number 1.
Right, but that's what we did with Bert with the fast food burger. We go 1, 2, 3. Like we quietly let JJ have the floor, and he does this tier 1 through 3.
Yeah, but if you're just making a pizza, he's going to make 3 pizzas for us right now?
I can make I mean, off the top of my head, I can go. Let's go.
I feel like everyone could.
yeah, I can say 3 pizzas.
Okay, I'll figure out a way to say 3 pizzas.
You can go last, Taylor.
Yeah, you can go last.
I'm always going last from now on.
JJ, you have the floor.
All right. I'm
Anchovies.
actually I'm gonna go in order of how I want to eat these pizzas. Does that make sense?
Well,
I don't
can you
know.
explain it a little bit more.
So I like if you go to a great pizza place, like Lucali in Brooklyn,
Okay.
like I would want to eat them in this order. Not the entire pizza. I'm not that gluttonous, but maybe a slice or 2 of each is what I'm saying.
Gluttonous is one of the 7 deadly sins.
I've been gluttonous a few
So-
times recently.
I would start with 2 toppings that you guys don't actually have on this graphic here, which I'm a
This is
little
your number 1.
This is your number
number
one.
one.
Pizza.
This is I would say this is my number 1 pizza.
Okay, number
I
1.
just want like shallots and hot peppers.
Shallots and hot peppers.
Hey, let's just let him have the floor because I'm
repeated it.
thinking,
Second pizza would be what I call a twin special. It's my wife's favorite pizza, along with her twin. I'll go pepperoni, white onion, green pepper, and then for kind of like a dessert, I would go with ricotta, sausage, and maybe some sage. I fucked you guys up, didn't I?
yeah, I'll tell you what.
Hey, you did go chef special on us just now.
So
My man knows his pizzas. Will, you have the floor.
my tier 1. Why are you already laughing?
Because I just feel like you just said some like artistic shit, and you're gonna go
I'm
sausage.
I mean, this is hard. My tier 1 is very hard because there's a couple pieces I'm thinking about.
So start
I'll
tier
get
3.
to 'em. Well, either way, I got to decide out of this tier 1. That's what the hard part is.
Yeah.
But I think if I had to order a pizza, I think I'm going to go.
Oh,
By the way, he texted me this last night, so he's had 24 hours.
Trust me,
I
I've
know.
thought about the
I've
entire.
only thought about my one.
You're one-
I know exactly what
You
my
got a
tier one is.
and
I
that's
have it.
And
I
that's
think
it.
I'm going to go like a sweet heat
Oh,
where you got pepperoni, jalapenos. I love onions, so you can just throw onions on there. That's not really part of it, but I do love onions. But you throw like you get the red pepper flakes, but you also drizzle honey over top. You drizzle
Like
honey
Mike's
over
hot
top.
honey.
Yeah,
Some Mike's hot honey.
yeah.
I like that.
My number 2 is Hawaiian. That's what battled for my number 1. I'm a big Hawaiian pizza guy. I believe in pineapples on pizza. I am pro pineapple on pizza. And my number 3,
Big CPK guy.
I love
Big
Supremes. I love meat lovers, but I think if I had to order, I would go pepperoni and bacon for my tier 3.
Hmm.
Taylor, take it from here, brother.
okay. My tier 3 is going to be very basic, extremely basic. It's going to be your Neapolitan cheese pizza. I think you can't beat it. You got a little bit of garnish on there. You got your cheese, your sauce. And I think it's fantastic with the fluffy crust. It's outstanding. That's my tier 3. My tier 2 is also the Hawaiian pizza, but with a spice. You got to throw banana peppers on there or jalapenos. I like a little spice.
Hey, I agree with you. I like that.
I have the 4. And number 1 is going to be, I almost said yes when you said CPK because I'm a barbecue chicken pizza guy. That's my number 1. Barbecue sauce,
Yes, man. It pains
chicken.
me every time.
What really?
Yeah,
A little
anytime
onion
you're like-
on there. I think it's out. It's my
I apologize for
favorite
interrupting.
possible pizza I can make for myself.
Barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken.
Now that we're done, what the fuck was that, dude?
Yeah, what did you say?
What was your number 1? Shallots and what?
Shallots and pepperonis?
Shallots on pizza. It's a cheat code.
What's a shallot?
A shallot is like
It's like a little onion,
like in
right?
between like a red onion and garlic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like garlic.
Yeah.
I like onions.
I mean, I like both those
You're
things.
telling me I like
So they
shallots.
cook a little bit.
But shallot and what?
Hot peppers. Hot peppers.
I mean,
peppers.
those aren't like terrible ingredients. I'm just thinking you're tier 1. You're like, hey JJ, what do you want to eat? Like, hey, they got some with shallots and hot peppers on it.
Here's the
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
I am not.
Pick up the
I am
phone.
not a CPK hater. I think restaurants like CPK, Chili's, TGI Fridays, like they have their place in America,
Mhm.
and I respect them. And I've ate a lot of meals at places like that. But
You're better than them now.
question where you guys are eating pizza based on you guys saying Hawaiian pizza for both of you was number
Fire.
2,
Fire.
and a
Fire.
barbecue chicken
Fire.
pizza number 1.
I think
really
barbecue.
question that.
I think you can't touch barbecue chicken pizza if you have the right barbecue sauce on it.
Brother, I that's the one thing. Like, I mean, cheese to me, I was like, but some people like their cheese pizza.
I don't want to sound like a coastal elite here,
Yeah.
but I'm going to sound like a coastal elite.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I
if
get it.
have-
You
like I live in New York. I live in Brooklyn. Brooklyn
Yeah.
is the best pizza in the world.
Mhm.
Like the shit y'all are talking
Allegedly.
about is disgusting.
What do you mean the shit that we're talking about? So you would need a sweet heat. I think you reacted like, oh, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you said that you actually did. I think you said
Yeah.
that sounds
The
nice.
sweet heat sounded nice.
That was my tier
Yeah.
1.
Hawaiian
But a
pizza with
coastal-
Hawaiian
elite.
pizza is fire, bro.
Yeah, a coastal elite, you guys should just sit on the traditional ingredients and you guys just make the best pizza and that's it. That's how I think a coastal elite works.
Mhm.
So
You
I
guys
think
do got good
by
pizza
you
out
doing
of, like,
some special
York.
shit like shallots and hot peppers, does that make you a coastal elite or does it make you use you're just a little fluff, dude. You're a TGI Fridays with some fluff is what it sounds like to me. It's just what it sounds like.
But I will agree on the barbecue chicken part. The barbecue chicken throws me off, bro.
It's okay. I'm not here to argue that part. I've gone downhill with In-N-Out Burger. I've seen what the people have done. I've seen what Will's tried to do to me. I think it's fucking
I just feel
ridiculous.
Like
and
barbecue
just
chicken pizza, like on the
honestly
kids
shameful
menu.
of you guys to handle yourself the way you have. I think it's fucking ridiculous. I think barbecue chicken
Your
pizza
kids
is the
probably
best
get
pizza.
Barbecue chicken pizza.
No, they wouldn't eat barbecue chicken pizza. We wouldn't feed that to them.
Y'all fucking up.
We wouldn't feed that.
Y'all
to
fucking
them.
up.
You like a
My
barbecue?
daughter, I took my daughter to Mellow Mushroom last Sunday.
Mellow
She
mushrooms
wants-
fire.
Okay.
Mellow-
Mellow
She wants to go
mushrooms are
back
good.
She wants to go back tonight.
It's
Like,
just
why? I'll
good.
probably go get one tonight. You know what I'm gonna order? The barbecue
Hawaiian?
chicken pizza. Nope.
Hang on,
I might go half and half now. 'Cause I
Hawaiian is
low
nice.
key.
Hawaiian is fucking
Put a
good.
little heat on it, right?
Yeah, I'll put a little sweet heat on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I did like the sweet heat vibe.
You want to know where you get that pizza at?
Go ahead.
Midnight Oil. It's off of 51st. No free shout outs to Midnight Oil, but you go to Midnight Oil and you order a sweet heat pizza from Midnight Oil.
It's like that.
Let them know the boy sent you.
Okay.
There might be a little something in there.
Hey, I want you to know I sent me, and I wanted the sweet heat pizza, please.
It's phenomenal.
Really?
Are you here until tomorrow?
No, I leave tonight.
What time?
Ship in a little bit. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Is this one of those show up at 7:30 things, or are we getting there a couple hours early?
To my flight?
Yeah.
No, I don't go to the airport early. Who does that? I'm not a.
But here's what we're trying to ask.
No,
Like,
you
are
do,
you driving there to fly out at 7:30? Or are you getting there at an hour and a half before?
Yeah. Are we going through TSA or are we not going through TSA?
Oh, I see what you're asking. You guys flew me down. Like this trip was not on me.
We didn't fly you down.
Oh, he's right. No, you know what? He is right.
Barstool flew you down.
You're our first guest that we've flown down to be on
Really?
the bus.
Yeah.
We've just started kind of doing that.
Mhm.
No shit.
You should ask for some money. We probably would have gave it to you.
Nah. It's just my
love
pleasure
that.
to be on the show, man.
I love
It's my
that.
pleasure to be on the
Your show.
No, I don't. I'm not that level, dude.
You guys really don't like barbecue chicken pizza?
I don't.
Like,
we were talking about
there's
PJs.
some
Are we not
like-
talking about? We're not talking about
We're
PJs.
talking about private jets, yes.
I
Gas
would-
prices are too extreme right now to be doing
like
that.
I don't think barbecue pizza is trash. I just don't order it or I don't eat. Like to me, it's like, what are we doing?
See, I felt that way about Supreme. It's
Really?
such a staple, but for me, I'm like, all the extra shit on it.
I
It's
had a
just
bite
like,
of yours. I said it was solid.
you like barbecue chicken? One of your barbecue chicken chicks in the back there?
That chicken bacon ranch they had.
It's number one by far. Like, it's not even fucking close.
That habanero cream pie. Holy fuck, dude. Yes.
See, that's where it kind of throws me off when you start talking about pizzas, because there's like, that's like a gourmet pizza. Like, 5 points is like Jack Brown's in a
I
lot of
agree with
ways with the
that.
burgers. Like, you can't like just go like, if I were to say to you guys, oh, I like jalapenos, but the seeds carved out with cream cheese on it also, it just doesn't make any sense to be able to explain that pizza. You know what I'm saying?
I thought JJ was gonna explain something like that. The way
He
was
did. I think he did.
rattling off.
I still, we need an interpreter to figure out what the fuck he said.
Yeah, what was this? Yeah, you said a little bit of sage, and that's
Well,
where
no,
I was like,
you guys have had like a fried sage leaf before, like a little fried sage leaf on the sausage and ricotta pizza. That doesn't sound like a white sauce, like a
Do
white
I look like a guy that had fried sage on my pizza?
in your life. You've never had fried sage.
like to me, that's a
Where the fuck,
gourmet.
how much money did you have when you grew up? Fried sage?
Get $7 in his checking account.
Sounds
no
so
money. I
expensive.
have no
It sounds
money.
expensive. It just sounds expensive to me.
Well, he lives in New
Fried
York now.
sage.
Like he's.
It's a very expensive place.
It is. It
Yeah,
sucks.
must be nice.
But what was that?
Why
pizza
don't you move down to Nashville?
What's up?
Sorry, go do Will's question first.
What was the driest?
more on
sage thing
topic.
that you explained.
What was it? What about it?
What were the toppings? What else?
Oh, it
did you
was
choose?
ricotta, cheese, sausage,
Mm.
and fried sage.
See, I think
Incredible combo.
It sounds like a tasty pizza for sure. But if we're just like ranking our pizzas, dude, and you're saying sage and ricotta and sausage.
I mean, I actually.
You say you should. You
the best,
could,
the
you
best
could-
thing I heard from both of you was just a classic Neapolitan cheese pizza. Honestly, I think that's.
well, that's
It's
bullshit
fire.
because
I said garnish too. Did you hear? I started to sound fancy like you. I
he-
said
he
garnish.
reacted to
But
the
he
sweet
literally.
heat
So basically, what you just fucking said with all those fancy words is a sausage pizza.
with a little bit of sage.
Kenny, it's a sausage pizza. Throw some of that green shit on there. That's what you said to the person in the counter.
No,
You like mellow mushroom though?
I do.
I fuck with
I
mellow
love
mushroom.
pizza. I mean,
You
I
know
love
what's an
pizza.
underrated pizza? I went with my daughter to a birthday party last week. Chuck E. Cheese. Don't fucking at me, dude. That Chuck E. Cheese is low key fire. Peter Piper pizza for those of you in the West.
I
Shit's
haven't
fire.
had Chuck E. Cheese in a long time, so I'll take.
When
your
and
word
I
for it.
went that. When and I went there, it was
We
delicious.
didn't have any money growing up, so we couldn't go to Chuck E. Cheese.
That's crazy. That's crazy. We got the fried sage though,
I
huh?
got the fried sage now.
That's
That really
wild.
throws me off, the
Sage and
ricotta,
PJs.
sausage, and fried sage.
He just said sausage and cheese pizza.
I know he did, but he's also like the only thing you guys said good was the cheese pizza, and I'm thinking like, bro, stop
And
acting like you didn't react when I said sweet heat.
yeah, you did say, oh, I like
Okay.
that. Because when you said that to Will, I almost said, hey, we don't react here. We don't react in the tier talk. Do you know?
I know, I
Right?
was trying to keep it. That's why I was holding it in while he was going.
Well,
I
I'm
was-
picturing when he said the sweet heat. I'm picturing there's a place called Emily in Brooklyn
Mm.
that makes a great
Always
burger as
fucking
well
with
as
this guy.
no. It's. I
I'm
mean,
just kidding. Go ahead.
the water's better up there, man. Like, what do you want me to say? The water's better for pizza.
Sure.
Why
That's why the bagels are so good.
and bagels. The
But no,
bagels are fire.
Emily has like a sweet heat pizza that basically is the description of what you described, and they do a little Mike's Hot Honey on the top.
And you've had it.
Yeah, and I've had
It's
it.
fire.
And it's fire. It's a good pizza.
Mm.
Good
But
pizza.
you just don't. I think you don't agree with pineapple on pizza.
No, it's not. I don't wake up,
Well, who
any morning and be
who
like,
wakes
oh,
up and thinks I can't wait
I want
to have
pizza
Hawaiian
tonight. I want to
today."
put pineapple on it. Like that's just a weird thing to me. It's that mushrooms. Like I eat everything, but mushrooms I can't touch. I can't touch mushrooms. Not for me. Now Italian truffles, I could.
You see my face? It's like, did you? I got whiplash from looking at you so fast. Dude, what was the second pizza you said? Because you were kind of did a run-on sentence for the last two.
Twin special.
Huh?
The twin special. It's just
What-
simple.
no.
Pepperoni, white onion, green pepper.
Oh, we just gotta start naming our shit cool, so it sounds better.
Yeah, he said white onion. Like just
When he
say
said
onion.
when he said the way when you I'm talking even right there when he was talking like that, I legit thought to myself like, we picked the wrong category. Like, cause we're about to say sausage and shit. You know, we're about to say basic shit.
I believed in what I was about to say. I stand 10 toes down on it.
Yeah, but he said twins pizza. He said ricotta. He used the word
I
ricotta.
know he did.
Just say cheese.
And what's crazy is he's been thinking about that since last night. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit
He's
these
a
boys
homework
with
guy. He's got 15 pages on both of
I
us.
actually forgot.
He knew exactly where I was from when he
forgot
asked
we were
me.
doing it. The only reason I thought of all those pizzas is because when I saw the toppings, I was like, oh, shallot's not on there.
Can I ask
So
you a
then I
hard
just
hit?
went back to the catalog in my brain,
Can I ask you a hard hitting basketball question?
please.
Who's the greatest of all time?
Man,
Who's the GOAT?
I like that
And
question.
a second part question: was Michael Jordan a narcissist?
I think it's 1A, 1B to me.
I don't like that answer. I want you to take a strong stance.
Who's 1A? Who's A?
It's weird because Jordan is who I like grew up watching.
Mhm.
But then LeBron is who I played against. And it's hard for me to like pick either one. Kyle Korver once said to me, he's like, like MJ, I know the accomplishments are great, but like MJ had to take 2 years off. So like the discredit LeBron gets for making 8 straight finals, I think is kind of insane.
Mhm.
So I'm if I had to say it, I'm just gonna say Jordan. 1A. Jordan.
That was your safe answer. Because if you would have said LeBron, you'd have got torched.
No, Jordan. It's Jordan.
Okay. LeBron's your two.
Oh yeah.
What about Kobe?
Great player. Great player.
Oh.
You know, here's the other thing I've learned, especially in the last year, is you guys know what a stan is, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Little Eminem callback.
That was an Eminem thing. By the
Um,
way, the song's incredible too.
incredible song.
Mm.
What I've realized is that certain players' stands are fucking insane on social media. And I said a bunch of nice things about Steph Curry the other day.
Mhm.
But the question was, who do you want in the clutch more, Luka or Steph?
I saw that video.
And I said in 2022, I said Luka, and the amount of hate that I got from the Steph stands.
Do you think he deserved it a little bit? Greatest shooter of all time.
Again, that wasn't the question, though.
Game on the line. Who do you want the ball in their hands?
The question, yeah, exactly. And I
Mhm.
said Luka.
Who do you want with the ball?
But why?
Size.
But if my man can just pull up at the logo and splash that thing in no problem, then we don't need size. Oh, I sound like a
School
basketball
him
guy
up.
right now.
School him up.
Luka is big. He's a dominant player. He can't shoot like Steph. Everyone knows that.
No one can shoot like Steph.
Okay, so why wouldn't you need a basket, right? The whole concept of basketball is to put the ball in the
I
hoop.
think the issue more is like how you go get the basket. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so when I think about like clutch, I
Mhm.
think I look at statistics because they track those.
What about Giannis?
The best player in the world right now.
So you'd rather have Luka over him too?
No, the question that I got asked was Luka or Steph.
Well, in Bussin with the boys, we like to throw in wrenches.
You know what? There's like 10 guys I'd like to have in the clutch with the ball in their hands.
All right, but go ahead. Talk to me about Luka. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw Giannis in there.
When I think about like who do I want to have the ball in their hands in the clutch, it's guys like Luka, it's guys like LeBron who have size because they're going to create a shot, whether that's against a double team, whether that's one-on-one, they're going to create a shot. There's nothing wrong with saying Steph in that answer, by the way. And he's made a ton of clutch shots. I was basing some of it on just this past season. Steph was 10 for 51 from 3 in the clutch this season. So, like, some of that is recency bias, which is another thing I've learned in the media. We all have.
Mhm.
Prisoners of the moment. I like to describe Stephen A as that. It's another phrase that I
Seems that way.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. I can't imagine getting to the point where like you have a show every day and you're like, man, I got to fill 2 fucking hours with the same take, but in a different way. That's tough. I like
He's
to
good at
just
it.
pop in and pop out, you know?
Yeah.
Loved the clapping back you were doing on Mad Dog. I think every young generation athlete and young generation person was fairly hype about that.
I the one thing I'll say, and this is not in sort of any direction towards Mad Dog. The one thing I say is like and I'm sure you guys have seen this too. I have witnessed and lived both in my own personal experience and my peers' experience, a lot of tired narratives around athletes. And, you know, I remember going through the lockout and seeing articles written about athletes. And I'm like, why is everybody siding with the billionaire owners and not the athletes? There's something about athletes that people think we're entitled, that people think our only value is to entertain you on a basketball court or a football field, that we're not allowed to be intelligent and speak our mind or speak an opinion or to protest or whatever it is. And it's so dehumanizing and so demeaning. And a lot of the stuff that has gone viral on First Take has been in a direct response to some of those narratives. And that's one example of it. But, you know, the other part of it, I don't really want to talk about.
Sure.
The undertone, I don't want to talk about. But, you know, so much of that is like, hold on a second, like the narrative is wrong. The narrative is tired. Let's start a new narrative. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I do want to ask before I know we've had a long pod.
Yeah, we got to play another game of pig.
Is Coach
So be ready.
Is Coach K a psycho? From the outside, when you watch a lot of situations unfold, it seems like a lot of things that he does seems very calculated. And yeah, so I'm wondering, it's like, is Coach K?
Well, I guess because my version of my definition of a psycho, I also use the word sicko interchangeably about when I talk about people.
Gotcha.
And like, what's your sort of definition?
I guess psycho is pretty hardcore.
Over the top.
Yeah, very
too
over
much,
the top.
really demonstrative on players.
Mm.
Hardcore. Makes you feel less than a lot of the time.
Narcissistic.
Narcissistic.
Like, understands
He's
the
better than.
manipulative game that he can do with players. I mean, you played for him. There's been a lot of.
I think manipulative is the wrong word. I think the word you use about calculative, I think that's probably more appropriate. He's definitely not a narcissist. He's definitely not a psycho in sort of the traditional sense. He is very intense and he's very demanding, but he's a truth teller. He is always a truth teller. And, you know, my 4 years with him, I say this sincerely, like my 4 years with him, I never saw him have a bad day. Like, not what he's on.
Consistent.
He's on every day. We get back from Virginia Tech on the bus at 3 a.m. We lose meeting, we're in there for an hour. We got practice the next day. He's on the bike at 6 a.m. He comes to practice energized, ready to go, ready to coach. He's like that with every team he's ever been on. He's so invested and takes such ownership, or did take such ownership of being a coach, being a Duke basketball coach, like that program. He's phenomenal. And I get to a degree when someone sees him motherfucking a ref or motherfucking a 19-year-old, like I get why people are like, oh, he's a psycho. He's a psycho. But like, I actually would say all the good shit that's said about him is true and then some. Like, my dad is the greatest man that I've ever known. I didn't have to look far for a role model. Coach is the second. Like, Coach is phenomenal. And I became friends with him my junior year, and we've been friends now for whatever that is, 17 years. He's like such an important part of my life, and it has been for, since 2000 when I committed. Like, he's the man. I love that dude.
Mm-hmm. After your little stint, your sophomore year, when you were brought back and put on a big schedule, did you and him ever talk about it? Like, reminisce maybe a couple of years ago about it? Like, hey, was worried about you there for a second. He ever give you the, hey, didn't know if you were going to make it?
We talked a little bit about it when he came on the podcast in the fall of 2020, but actually the moment we became friends and the moment that I felt like he wasn't just my coach was that following spring, we lost in the Sweet 16 to Michigan State in Austin.
Worst school.
Yeah, terrible. And I'd gone through all that my sophomore year, and then I got ACC Player of the Year, ACC tournament MVP, first team All American. I got one of the National Player of the Year awards. I got the Rupp Award, and let's give it up.
My man
Give it
just
up.
going off right now.
Hey, context matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Low
doubt.
point,
Yeah.
high point.
No,
Right?
no
Low
doubt.
point,
I'm
high
with
point.
it.
So he called me into where we lose at the arena. We're all emotional. I'm crying, and we're getting on the bus. He's like, "Hey, come to my hotel room when we get back to the hotel." And we went in there and we basically talked about that. We talked about that day in May of 2004 when they dragged me into the office. Talked about that summer, everything I'd done. We talked about the season. He talked about how proud he was of me. Like I was a lifer at that point. Like I was a Coach K lifer.
That's badass.
He was a friend from that point on. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And then another one last thing, the gambling story of you almost coming to blows with one of your teammates. I heard you said it was one of the closest times
Yeah, I mean,
you ever came to fighting a teammate.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten hit by teammates before. Like,
You've gotten punched by a teammate?
yeah, Hito Turkoglu used to hit me. He hit me a couple times.
A couple times.
When I was like a rookie, and then once again my third year, he just liked to fuck with me. But
Why does he?
I got into a little scrap with Carlos Arroyo. Me and Brian Cook got into it one time. Like I never like came to blows with a guy in practice, but like I was trying to find a place in the league, so I was just scrappy in practice. And if you're a vet, like in his shoot around, like that's one of the times Turkoglu elbowed me in the eye and gave me a black eye. He's just like I was playing too hard a post defense when we weren't walking through plays, we were running through plays. And he just turns and he like noticed it was me and he caught me in the elbow. Got me with an elbow. The Justin Anderson story, basically, everybody in the NBA plays Blu-ray. Do you guys play Blu-ray in the NFL? Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody plays
Love that.
Blu-ray. So there's in the player's cabin, we use Delta charter flights. So in the player's cabin, there's always a table, and then there's a bunch of other seats. So the table is for card games. And so playing Blu-ray, and there had been some tension building between Justin Anderson and another teammate of mine. They were going back and forth. They sat next to each other. So their actions directly affected the other player's actions, right? Whether or not the guy stayed in the game, whether or not a guy went for a boo or didn't go for a boo, like it all affected each other. So they were kind of mouthing off, and Justin wanted a pretty big hand to not count because he felt like there was a discrepancy in how that particular hand had been played. And we had been drinking as well. There had been some wine on the flight. And so there was Amir Johnson, me, Jared Bayless, Justin Anderson, diagonal to me. And then there wasn't a fifth seat. So Joel would sit on the armrest in the aisle. Joel Embiid would sit on the armrest in the aisle. And it basically got to the point where their bullshit was sabotaging the general flow and enjoyment of the card
It
game.
was ruining the night.
It was ruining the night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I got a little vocal, and then he got vocal back with me. And then I said, you're a little bitch. And he said, what did you say? And I said, you're a little bitch.
Oh, you doubled down.
I doubled down. And again,
man.
I'm not proud of this. Like I said, you're a bitch. And he said, what'd you say? I said, you heard me. I said, you're a bitch. And then he like stood up on the table and like, almost swung on me. Joel luckily like grabbed him. And then all these flight attendants that were on the plane like came. I don't know why they broke up the
Right.
scuffle, but they broke it up. Had he swung on me, like I'm sitting down, he's standing up on a table.
You think he would've won that fight?
6'6", 230. Would I have won it? No, I would have
Grab him by the ankles, dude. Give him a toss.
I would have lost. Dude, the tables are like here. Like there's no leverage. I was stuck. I would have lost that fight.
Yeah, you're a little bitch, dude. I'm about to get
You
whooped.
got to think, if you're really going to fight somebody, while he's taking the time to get up on that table, you got to make a move.
Yeah.
If you're going to win that fight.
The flight attendants, they obviously fly with all the other teams. The word got around that had happened.
Mm.
So I had a bunch of texts from buddies around the league that like, I heard you guys got into a fight, whatever. I was like, no, it was nothing. It was nothing.
Well, that's
So
legacy.
what happened after? You guys cool?
Yeah. It's fine.
Allegedly.
No,
I have to ask him.
Jay is my guy.
I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time.
We appreciate you for coming on, man. This
Thanks,
has been
dude.
an awesome
For
podcast.
real. Been unreal.
Get to your flight. Hey, Jack, is he doing the green screen? Ooh. All right,
Okay.
cool. Did I appreciate it, man? Hey, anything else? Anybody got anything?
You trying to hit that pig 1-on-1?
What?
Pig?
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so. He's scared.
Is anybody better than you at the collegiate level of all time shooter?
Steph.
Really?
Yeah, Steph would have. I mean, there's other guys that have surpassed like the 3-point thing, but Steph would have shattered it had he played one more year. He would have shattered it. I think I don't know who I was having this conversation with, but it was somebody the other day. Like, I think why it's like, it was Omar from my House of Highlights. Omar Raja.
Yeah.
Is now with Sports Center. We were talking about this 2 days ago, and I was telling him it's like part of the reason, like the Duke version of me is, there's a legacy to that. I think a little bit, even though I didn't win a championship, and
Oh, there definitely is.
yeah, there's a little bit of a legacy. If you were growing up in that area, you watch college basketball. But I think the reason is, number one, because I played for Duke, and like people hated Duke, and there's divisiveness there. The second reason, though, is like my draft class was the last draft class before the one and done era. So I feel like my time in college basketball was like the time in college basketball that we all knew and we all grew up knowing. Now with the one and done, it's just different. Like, you don't have that attachment.
You
to
don't
a
make
player.
the legacy. Yeah, you're in
Yeah,
and
it's
out.
like, most people don't even pay attention till March Madness anyways. So now it's like,
Back then it was like you and Adam Morrison.
yes. Yeah. And and then UNC was awesome when I was there. They won in 05. We had some great games with them. So I don't, and they were all upperclassmen. Like, all those guys left. They were all my high school class, and they all left after their junior year. I decided to stay one more year. So I just think it was like part of it was like just the era we were in. It wasn't necessarily that like I did anything that was that much special relative to other great college basketball players.
I mean, you're pretty fucking good. So
I was whatever.
no, you weren't decent.
11th
You were
overall
pretty
pick. You were
fucking
pretty solid.
I was good.
good.
11th overall pick.